Good evening, members of council, ladies and gentlemen, staff. I see that we have quorum, and I call this regular meeting for the Town of Pelham Council for Monday, May 5th, 2014, to order. We will begin with an invocation led by Councillor Durley, followed by the singing of the national anthem, which will be led by Councillor Papp, and I would ask all that are able to rise.
Dear God, who has given us grace to make our common goals unto thee, and who does promise that when two or more are gathered unto thy name, you will grant their requests. Lord, we supplicate your blessing upon this assembly. Fulfill now, O Lord, the petitions of thy servants as may be expected of them. Grant all in this council chambers the knowledge of trust, justice, and honor in all considerations placed before them. Provide us in this chamber, O Lord, strong minds and discerning spirits as we deliberate over the business of our town, that we move forever forward to ensure the town of Pelham continues to be a vibrant, caring, and creative community. May God bless all in our community and grant us in this chamber the wisdom, will, and generosity to guide the town of Pelham through the challenges and successes that lie ahead. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patron of, in all thy Son's command, with glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you, Councillor Durley, Councillor Papp, thank you all. First on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, and it has been moved by Councillor Ribbiak, seconded by Councillor Kersey, that the agenda for the May 5th, 2014 regular meeting of council be adopted. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we change the order of 7.2, having 7.2.1 Supermarket Committee present last, in that the other two presenters are offering objections to Supper Market, and I think it would be appropriate to see how Supper Market Committee might address those objections. And also, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to bring forward staff reports that are pertinent to the issues that are being discussed by the various delegations. And I'd like to bring them forward in the following order. 13.2.2, which is the parking outline of the Thursday evening parking, to be following the Supper Market report, as well as then 13.2.1 following that, which is the Pelham Supper Market report.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Do you have a seconder for that? Councillor Papp? So it's been moved by Councillor Kersey, seconded by Councillor Papp, an amendment which is to, when we hear the delegations, to hear 7.2.1, the Supper Market Committee presentation, immediately following the presentation 7.2.3 Supper Market, and also to move ahead those two staff reports, the first being the Thursday evening parking plan, 13.2.2, and then finally the Pelham Supper Market, which is 13.2.1. So that is an amendment. Any discussion to the amendment? There be none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That amendment is carried. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Your Worship, there was a request to add a letter of correspondence from the Prime Minister with regard to the National Day of
Commemoration.
Commemoration.
Mover for that, Councillor Papp, second by Councillor Lane. That item was received, I think it was Thursday that we received it, so it can make it to the agenda. So we would ask that be added, Councillor Papp and Councillor Lane, and that would go under requiring action. Is that correct?
Yes, they could go under the consent agenda. I would suggest, Your Worship, under correspondence of a routine nature for action, item 1115-3.
Okay.
1153.
1153. So that's an amendment. I'm going to call the question on that. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Any other amendments to the agenda? There being none, I call the question on the amended agenda. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried as amended. Thank you. The next item is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. That is any conflicts of interest that any members of council may have. Do any members have any conflicts that they need to declare at this time? All members are shaking their heads no, and I hope that that can be noted in the minutes. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we have a presentation to members of the Pelham Panthers Novice Boys Division 7 Gold. They're champions, and I would ask that they come in, and I would ask the Deputy Clerk, Councillor Rybak, to assist me over here. What did I say? Deputy Mayor, sorry.
I think I've been promoted. They get a full-time salary, don't they?
Yes, they do.
So if you want, you can just go right around. You want to do that? So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and I understand, we understand the congratulations are in order to you. You want to just speak about your win?
Sure, yeah. The boys went up to the provincial tournament, which was held in Burlington this year, and we were really proud of them. They gave a full effort every game, and we saw bigger kids, all the kids diving on the floor for balls and just giving tremendous, tremendous effort, and obviously it paid off with eventually a gold medal win.
That's great. Congratulations to you. We're so proud of you representing Pelham and yourselves and your families, that we are so appreciative that you're here this evening to receive small tokens of our congratulations to you. So Councillor Rybak is going to help out a little bit here. I do have this this plaque that I present to you, which you can have. So congratulations to you. And this says, the Council of the Town of Pelham extends congratulations and best wishes to the Pelham Panthers Novice Boys Division 7. So presented to the gold medal winners. Congratulations. Parents, come on in. Just
Come in.
take over. Come on in.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. It's your chamber, so come on in. Come on in.
Lots of room.
Here's Quinn. So this one's for Quinn Benless. Congratulations, Quinn. And we have for you and for each member, and maybe I'll give it to the coach to hand it later, but we have these water bottles, Town of Pelham water bottles that you can export. So congratulations to you. And okay. Connor. Congratulations, Connor. Well done. Actually, I'm going to give those to the coach, right?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Mike Hurley?
Mike's not here.
Pardon?
Mike's not here.
Mike's not here. Okay, so we'll make sure. Okay. Samuel Jeffrey. Yeah, feel free to clap. Congratulations. Well done, Samuel. Adam Kleinsmith. There he is, Adam. Guard? Awesome. Good job. Congratulations. Sorry, I won't ask questions anymore. Maybe you checked, you're this, they don't have positions, right? They check somebody else, is that how it works?
Yeah, they have positions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would be the guard
Okay,
and forward positions.
okay, thanks. Danny Langland? Josh Rochelle? Did I get that right, Josh? Well done. Noah Minor. Well done. Matthew, how do you say this last name, Matthew?
Matthew was unable to attend today.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much. Congratulations, Matthew. Matthew O. Owen Phillips. All right, Owen. Zion Pinkling? How do you say that? Pinkelton? Pilkington. Sorry, Zion. Congratulations. Edson Senecki. Thomas Valencourt. Ethan Wells. Carter Williams. Is that everybody on the team? All right, well, let's give a great round of applause for your coaches, Paul and Martin. Thank you, and thanks so much. Congratulations to the parents, along with the boys and the team. So what's next? Next year, they're together again?
Half of them are moving up, half of them staying together. Always.
Very good.
Take it on the Raptors.
Taking on the Raptors, all right, good stuff. Congratulations, well done. Congratulations.
Terrific. Good going.
Congratulations, guys, well done. Good job, guys. Well done. So you guys gonna keep playing? Spring. Yeah? Take care. Again, congratulations.
It's along the same line, though.
Next on the agenda is another presentation. It's regarding the International Water Association water audit. Is Sarah Witten here? Joining us?
All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for having me here. My name is Sarah Witten, and I'm here on behalf of Flowmetrics Technical Services. We were contracted by the town of Pelham to complete an IWA water audit for the 2012 fiscal year. So tonight, in my short presentation, I will describe to you what an IWA water audit is, and what it means for the town of Pelham and how they can use all of that information to maintain the stellar water management that they have. So first of all, an IWA water audit is a standard practice developed by the International Water Association Water Loss Task Force. They provide to us a couple of different methods in which we can look at water consumption and how it's managed. So we did a top-down approach, which is a desktop study. The town of Pelham was able to provide us with information pertaining to their water consumption and any water loss that they incur within the year. From this, we were able to create a water balance, and through that water balance, we came up with several performance indicators for the town of Pelham to use. So here is the water balance. And starting on the left-hand side is the system input volume. So this is the volume of water that the town of Pelham purchases from the region of Niagara on a yearly basis. And as you move to the left, you can see how the water moves from the source to the customer. So I just want to briefly break down each portion of the water balance, describe where we got our information, and any performance indicator that comes from that section. So first, we have authorized consumption. Authorized consumption is broken down into billed authorized consumption and unbilled authorized consumption. Billed authorized consumption is any consumption which is billed. So residential, industrial, commercial, institutional. The town of Pelham was able to provide us with all of their billing. So we were, sorry about that, it's kind of, doesn't really look that pretty. We were able to break it down by meter size and figure out how much water they're consuming per year and the total revenue that they receive from selling the water. The second part of authorized consumption is unbilled authorized consumption, which comes from things such as municipal operations and municipal facilities and buildings which do not bill their consumption as of right now. Here we have just a quick overview of what that looks like. So the majority of unbilled consumption comes from the municipal buildings and fire departments, and the remaining would be activities such as flushing, any maintenance that needs to be done, or any service breaks and repairs. Anything that we can't contribute to authorized consumption falls under the category of water loss. So there are different types of water losses. All water loss that is incurred within a year is called current annual real losses. And there are two different types of losses. There are apparent losses, which aren't a physical loss of water. So that means that somewhere along the lines between the customer's meter and the billing department, there's been some screw up of numbers. At the time of the study, we considered this negligible because there wasn't enough information to indicate that any of that was occurring. So all water loss is attributed to real losses. So this would be, like what it sounds, water escaping from the distribution system. So leaks at hydrants, valves, services, or on the distribution main itself. This is just a quick look at the real losses for 2012. There were only five leaks that were the operating authority dealt with, and every time they went out to deal with this, they recorded how much water, or they estimated how much water was lost, and that was we were able to get a volume to add to our real losses. The second would be another performance indicator. So this is an unavoidable annual real loss. So this is a theoretical calculation that we did. This volume of water is the minimum amount of water loss that occurs based on the existing infrastructure at the pressure that it's operated at. So in 2012, there was a loss of approximately 114,000 cubic meters, but this is something that can't be avoided. So that's okay. And anything else that any other losses that aren't attributed to leaks or unavoidable loss is unreported losses. So 2012, there's approximately 87,000 cubic meters of water loss, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a whole lot compared to how much water is being purchased from the region of Niagara. And as you can see, everything that all of the volumes that I have presented to you have come with a price tag. So the financial aspect is obviously very important. We were able to look at revenue water, which is all billed authorized consumption. So we calculated what we thought the town of Pelham should be receiving on an annual basis, and the town of Pelham provided us with what they did actually receive in 2012, and there was only a difference of about $10,000. Everything else is considered non-revenue water, and that came with a price tag of about $169,000. So as I mentioned earlier, the the reason we did this was to come up with these performance indicators and benchmarking values. I've already touched upon the apparent losses and the current losses and the unavoidable annual real losses. The main thing the reason we did this was to find the infrastructure leakage index, and this is a look at the loss management within the operating system. This is the most important one. This is the table of all of the values for those performance indicators, and as you can see, the ILI is 1.76, and the ILI is on a scale of 1 to 10, so 1 being the best. So Town of Pelham is doing pretty good. So with that being said, Flowmetrics, we were able to come up with a couple of recommendations for the Town of Pelham to continually maintain what they're doing, because they're doing a great job. Just a couple of examples would be to investigate the accuracy of their meters, so to make sure that what the meter is saying is what is truly how much water is actually going through the meter. Just another quick one would be to implement a policy and procedure for water operators when they're going out and doing their activities, to make sure that the amount of water that they're consuming is being recorded, so that we can take that away from water losses and put it into unbilled authorized consumption, because then the ILI, the important part, is going to continually go down. And active leak detection, so to just maintain, we were in here and we did leak detection, so that's a step in the right direction. There are other types of leak detection that the Town of Pelham can investigate into doing, but other than that, they're doing a pretty good job. So with that, I would like to thank you, and do you have any questions?
Thank you very much for your presentation, Ms. Whitten. We appreciate it, and giving us the numbers that way. Do any members of council have any questions for our presenter? Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, unavoidable. I don't like that word. What you did touch on, and what does it really mean? Nothing is unavoidable. We're losing almost 150,000 cubic meters of water a year, unavoidable. And, in my opinion, nothing is unavoidable.
So the unavoidable is a theoretical calculation, which I said. It takes into account the length of water main that's in your system, the length from the main to, an average length from main to service, the operating pressure. The operating pressure is really the only thing that can change it. So the higher pressure that you operate at, the more leakage that you're going to incur. So I can't really say that, I can't really comment too much on how to, I guess, decrease that, because it's just something theoretical that it happens.
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, 81,000 is an estimate that you've made that
Yes.
Goes into
Yes.
cyberspace
But I
or the
mean-
cloud. Okay.
Like by doing things like keeping better track of where the water's being consumed, so through operational activities and stuff, you can take away more of that water loss there and move it to authorized consumption, and then it'll make it better.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Are there other questions for our presenter? I have sorry, Councillor, did you?
No,
Okay.
I'm good.
The infrastructure leakage index, you had it set at 1.71. You said that it's a range generally between 1 and 10. 1 is good.
Very good.
So is this, what's another way to measure that? Are we sort of within the 90th percentile, the 80th percentile?
Well-
How would we rank with other communities
Right,
that you've
so-
dealt with, et cetera?
It's a dimensionless number, so the Town of Pelham can now use that to compare to other utilities. So you can compare to other similar sized towns. We don't have a lot of information on where other towns sit, so that's not really something that we looked into when we did the study.
Okay. And the study's using 2012 numbers. Could our staff now take this with 2013 and look at it, use the same?
Yeah.
Like, is that how this is?
Mhm.
So this is a tool for the future, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, so at this point, everything would be a benchmarking value, and then from here on out, yearly updates to see how things are going.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your presentation.
No problem.
So thank you very much for your presentation, Ms. Whitten, and for the work that you've done. Thank you. Next, we have 3 delegations, and the ordering was changed. So the first is from the Pelham Farmers Market regarding the supper market, and that is Mr. Arbor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Fred Arbor, Chair of the Pelham Farmers Market. After meeting with the Supper Market Committee on Monday, April the 28th, we, the Pelham Farmers Market Committee, have some serious concerns we would like to bring forward. Pelham Farmers Market opposes the supper market being held on Thursday nights. The Plaza, Bandshell, and Market have all voiced our reservations on it. Why do we oppose Thursday night? We do not support the closure of the arches until another access to Town Square is created. Closing the arches will have a negative impact on the market, considering the heavy traffic load, and will reduce direct access to the Bandshell and the farmers market. Closing the arches complicates access for our customers, cuts off drive-in and last-minute traffic. Pelham Farmers Market has built their clientele from zero. We are there for the community to share our agriculture heritage and have created a family-friendly atmosphere. Our focus has always been families, people, young and old, can come and enjoy the many children's programs, educational hands-on workshops, and buy fresh, buy local. We are against the consumption of alcohol at the supper market and are concerned it will change the family-friendly dynamics we've worked so hard to create. Why do our visitors have to be subject to everything that Pelham has to offer in one night? The supper market is an exciting idea and could promote Pelham on a different night by bringing more business to the downtown core, creating another reason to make Pelham not only a place to visit, but a destination. We are asking council not to approve the supper market on Thursday nights.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arbor. Appreciate your presentation on behalf of the Pelham Farmers Market, and congratulations on opening last week. Do any members of council have any questions for our presenter at this time? Councilor Rubio and then Councilor Gerlin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to Mr. Arbor. I wonder if you could expand just a little bit on your issue with regard to the closing of the arches. I, for one, would like to understand a little bit better what the impact of that will be.
It's a simple thing. Like, I cannot understand how you can consider shutting off the only access to Pelham Street at this stage of the game. Until I know there's in the works, there's supposed to be another route from Pelham Street down into this area. And when that happens, I'd be in favor of seeing the arches shut down, because I know the arches are a bit of a problem, but it is also the only access out there. And I know I hear that that it gets bottled up in that, but still in all, the traffic has to move somewhere. You don't think it's going to get any better down people coming in through the Plaza parking lot and loading up Station Street with traffic? I think it's a fairly simple thing, really.
Thank you, Mr. Arbor.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, I understand that Mr. Arbor, you feel very strongly about it, but I want to understand what the facts of the issue are. You indicate that if we close that road, there will be no access to the farmers market?
No, that's it. no access to Pelham Street. Cuts off the access to Pelham Street here. That you either have access through the plaza out to 20 Highway or down to Station Street, which that's what my concern is, how it'll work, you know. Some people maybe know a heck of a lot more than I do. Certainly.
Thank
seems
Thank you,
that
Mr.
way
Mayor.
anyway.
I think I've got what
Thank
I'm
you.
going to get.
Councillor Durley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, if the supper market was to convene on Thursday afternoon and evening, somewhere other than the Arches, would the presence of another anticipated 500 people, let's say hypothetically, coming there, would that not increase the opportunities for the market to do more business?
Well, I can't deny that it couldn't possibly create that, although I do understand there's some concerns about where the other place would be if you.
Well, okay, through you, Mr. Mayor, the area around Peace Park has been visited, but later on this evening, I have a suggestion to be made to another presenter, and that may offer another solution. However, like with the operation of the farmers market would not be impacted negatively if there was a supper market there than if the Arches weren't closed. Is this what I'm saying?
I don't know. I find it difficult to, little difficult to answer. I think for, you know, if you're talking about bringing in 10 more food vendors, I would think for the ones that's at the market that are food vendors, it's definitely going to, has to cut into it. I can't see anything else but cutting into that. As far as for the other vendors, you know, like the produce growers and that, I can't say that it would affect them. It may bring more people out. To still bring another 400 or 500 people would be questionable, anyways.
Okay. And just in my last submission here, though, the whole issue of Thursday night is that the impact of the band shell and the farmers market does impact businesses downtown. Those that are operating, food vendors that are operating in the market have an advantage against people who actually operate restaurants and so on and so forth.
Well,
So yeah, this was the whole issue that we started with the first home mate. We had two problems. One was parking. The other was businesses were having difficulty making sales on Thursday evening because people couldn't access their operations and their businesses. So I think what the supper market is trying to address is we need to do something to help these businesses work as well.
Well, I think the one, this just kind of a thing that, going back to last year, there was a time you wanted us to move up on Pelham Street. Now, to me, there would have been no parking for people coming. For people coming to the market, would have had to carry stuff extra long way to get to their vehicles because there was no place where they could pull up and pick stuff up. There's nothing that I know of that's stopping anybody from parking down here and walking up to Pelham Street and going into those places of business, really, is there?
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Mr. Arbour. Others, questions for Mr. Arbour? There being none, thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Arbour. It has been moved by Councillor Durley, second by Councillor King, that the information presented by Fred Arbour on behalf of the Pelham Farmers Market Committee. Thank you. Requesting, we don't normally, well, I guess we applaud the basketball, but we don't normally present or applaud delegations that are asking for something, so I would ask that to not do that in the future. So the motion has been moved by Councillor Durley, second by Councillor King, that information presented by Fred Arbour on behalf of the Pelham Farmers Market Committee requesting the council not approve the supper market on Thursday evenings be received for information. I would also say that this issue is an important issue to many in the room, and I know it's difficult for members of council who may want to get into debate with presenters from time to time. we should just ask questions at that time and then get into the debate in the future. So I'm now going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a presentation regarding the supper market, and this is by Wendy Wookson and Rachel Haynes. Thank you for joining us. And is this yours that was distributed? Is that correct? Okay. Right.
It's already distributed.
Is that your presentation?
Yes, I had copies. Okay.
Oh, do you have something different?
No,
she
I had
just had
copies of the same
copies.
one. She must have made copies. as
Oh,
well.
okay. All right.
We're good.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, and I'm sorry I was clapping. I haven't participated much in these kind of matters.
That's
so.
okay. Thank you.
First, we would like to thank council for hearing us tonight. We appreciate it. The issue of the supper market has been a complicated one with many different viewpoints. It has already been said that more communication and input from the public would have been helpful. So we decided we would try ourselves to talk to people and businesses to find out what they think and what are the main concerns. This was not meant to be a petition, but rather a sampling of people's opinions and a chance to hear the reasons why they feel the way they do. Hopefully we would hear some voices that have not been heard. We made a survey that asked the following question: are you in support of the proposed supper market scheduled to take place under the arches on Thursday evenings? The arches will be closed every Thursday approximately 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. from June through August. This new market will be licensed to sell beer and wine. That was the question that we posed on our survey. We had, each person could either answer yes or no to the survey. There were copies on the counter at stores, Nature's Corner, Churchill Natural Meats, Klager's, Keith's Restaurant, and was circulated into the seniors building at 45 Town Square. We personally visited a number of businesses in the plaza and downtown area, as well as people on the street and a number of homes in the surrounding streets. This was by no means a comprehensive or scientific study. It was just an attempt to get useful input to help better understand the issues. The most important results of the survey were not the yes and no answers, but the extended conversations that often went with them. We would like to present you with the results and try to identify the primary areas of concern on all sides of the issue. We would also like to draw some conclusions and make some suggestions based on these results. Overall, there were 300 people who responded over a period of 6 days. There were also a few people who did not wish to respond, usually because they felt they did not know enough about the issue to make a judgment. They were not counted. Those ones were not counted that didn't want to respond. Generally, most appreciated the chance to express an opinion. 94% of respondents did not support the supermarket on Thursday nights, although it should be noted that almost everyone who said no were very supportive of a supper market on a different night or not under the arches. This was easily the most common feedback we received. Everyone supported the idea of promoting local businesses and culture, but almost all the negatives were because of what was already happening on Thursday nights. There was also a large number of people who had serious concerns with the closure of the arches on a night when there is so much traffic in town. They generally felt that it is just too busy to have this access closed when it provides direct access to the bandshell and the farmers market. It would create additional difficulties because everyone would be forced to enter from Station Street or go through the plaza, which is a private lot. Plaza businesses already have a difficult time keeping themselves accessible to customers on Thursdays and feel strongly this would make it worse. Many recognize that the arches are not set up well for traffic leaving Town Square, but felt it should not be closed until a new road access is created. A few suggested the arches should only be one way, just going in off of Pelham. There was an overall frustration with the congestion and lack of parking already experienced on these evenings.
A lot of people were concerned about the negative impact on the farmers market and did not think this new market should go on at the same time. There were many who said they liked the way things are now, and people were very supportive of the farmers market in general. A number of people did not understand that the two markets were different and did not see why there needed to be a separate market. There were, of course, those who were supporters of the supper market. The most common reason for support was because they would like to see more variety and they feel the evening might benefit from some added diversity. There were a few who said that the supper market would be good to bring more people into town on Thursdays. There was a number of people who were not supportive of alcohol being served as part of the Thursday night activities and felt that it did not fit with the family atmosphere that has been established with the other two events. However, there were many who did not see this as a problem. The responses were different depending on where the survey was taking place. We are farmers market vendors, and the surveys in our stores were strongly against the supper market on Thursdays, with the main reasons being impact on the farmers market and the closure of the arches. In the seniors building, everyone said no, with the main reasons being objections to the alcohol at this family event and the closing of the arches, along with the effect it would have on traffic and access in town square. The nearby residents were a bit more supportive, with only 70% objecting to the Thursday night supper market. There were a few people there who said they were not as concerned about congestion and parking because they could just walk there, but others were concerned about rerouting of traffic through their streets. We talked to 15 business owners in the downtown area that were not supportive. There were a few that wished to remain neutral on the subject, but the others were all extremely concerned with issues of parking, traffic, and congestion. There seemed to be an overall frustration with the town, and they suffer a lack of business because their customers have a hard time getting to them. They feel this will just make things worse for them and are against closing the arches. Although it may help the restaurants involved, the feeling is it will just be worse for other businesses. Some said it is better for them to just close on Thursday evenings. Some also said that the town has done nothing to help them with their parking, but has still come and asked to use their private parking areas on Thursdays. Another comments that are worth noting that we heard a couple of times was that the farmers market was perceived by some as unwilling to change, and that may be part of the reason why a new market was created. The bandshell and the farmers market are the other Thursday evening participants, and all three parties met a week ago. We were there with the farmers market, and it seemed to us there was not a spirit of collaboration or cooperation. They answered our concerns with predetermined responses and presumed we should accept them. They were happy to tell us why they did not want to try another night, but did not tell us why another night wouldn't work. Like many others, both the bandshell and the farmers market do not support the closing of the arches, but we all do support a supper market. The bandshell has suggested it be held in Peace Park. The supper market has said it would like to do this, but to make it happen would cost $50,000. I would like to say that in this issue summary report, it mentions that Gail from, what's her last name?
Gail Balches Chataway.
Pardon?
Gail Balches Chataway.
Yes. That she is in, the bandshell is in support. But I talked to Gail, and she is on our list of businesses that signed. She is not in favor of the supper market going under the arches. Just so you know that. Based on all the feedback we have received and the concerns and suggestions of the parties involved, we would ask that not only council, but also those parties involved consider the following course of action. The supper market and farmers market committees would get together and identify some new vendors to expand the farmers market into Peace Park. We have inquired with public health, and there are many vendors in the farmers market now that do not require additional flooring or power to locate in the grass area of Peace Park near the farmers market. This could create more space in the municipal lot where there is already the power and pavement needed for food preparation. Because it is a farmer's market, the addition of new food vendors would require that we match with the addition of equal numbers of farmer producers. This expansion could take place during the concert season and would help create more of the variety that some people would like to see. Hopefully, it could involve a restaurant that is losing business on Thursdays, and it could be seen if they are able to do better. The arches could still be used as a roadway for assessing town square, and we would have a chance to gauge the success of the parking plan. The expansion would be smaller than the proposed supper market, so it could help serve as a test of the success and impact there might be. There may be room in Peace Park to try some of the non-food related activities planned by the supper market if kept apart from the farmers market. There would not be beer and wine this year. Food vendors and farmers could work together to promote each other as part of the same team and develop a relationship of mutual benefit. This still could be done this year, and knowledge gained could be used to determine how to proceed next season. This can only happen with the cooperation of the town and both markets, and we don't know if that will happen, but we see it as the best possible compromise. We would ask that the supper market not be approved for Thursdays until it is determined the committees are willing to work together on this idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
Well,
I wonder if members of council have any questions for our presenters at this time. Councillor Durley?
Mr. Mayor, through you, I was going to ask the question as to what were the reasons for the yeses and the nos, but you have really given that information in your presentation. The one concern that I have really is the wording of the petition, if you will, or the survey. Supper market is not really defined, and it's indicating that the main feature of that will be selling beer and wine, which could be a turnoff to some folks. Now, during your discussion with the folks that you did survey, did you explain what the supper market actually was?
Absolutely, very clear. But most people actually knew that the supper market meant serving supper or dinner.
Okay.
So anybody that did say, like, give us some more information, tell us about why they want to operate under the arches and who's going to be operating under the arches, we were trying to present both sides very fairly.
Thank you. So through you, Mr. Mayor. So in all fairness, the whole concept of supper market was fully described.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank
Now,
you.
I
Councillor
should say that
Ribbiak?
we didn't monitor every single person, like on the counters of the businesses perhaps, but if they had any questions or inquiries, they were always answered.
Okay, thank
But we
you.
did at the houses and spoke to people pretty in length.
Thank you.
Thank you for your answer. Councillor Ribbiak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I note in your presentation your suggestion with respect to the farmers market and the supper market somehow joining forces and doing something jointly. Was that explored at all with the supper market committee?
I actually brought that up in the meeting. It was like a very brief thing that I said, that perhaps that was an idea. And I think maybe they misunderstood it as maybe they were, like the bandshell idea kind of thing. That could have been misconstrued, but I did actually bring it up, and I brought it up to our committee at the farmers market meeting as well, as a suggestion, of course. Was it debated or discussed at all? No.
So you don't know, if I may, Mr. Mayor, through you, we don't know whether that suggestion has any legs then, in essence. You don't know whether that's going to be something that is consistent with
I think it's
the supper
just-
market's vision of what they want to do, or?
Well, it
they
is
just
if,
told us no.
if the reason behind the supper market is to appease a few of the restaurants that are really losing a lot of business, I think it's like a solution to try to work together and not rush into things. So to try and get these restaurants on board and help, and we can actually get more farmers and more food vendors and everybody's kind of happy. So if the reason behind the supper market and the reason they will not have it on another evening other than Thursdays is because they want to leverage the people that are there and because there's a few restaurants losing a lot of business, then yes, I think it's a pretty valid solution.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Others, questions for our presenters? Just to build on Councillor Ribbiak question, and I don't know that it was answered. So we just heard from Mr. Arbor from the Farmers Market Committee. You said it was raised there, but it wasn't discussed So these are sort of your ideas or your
It was
suggestions?
raised at the farmer's market committee as an option, and it was raised in the supper market and farmer's market meeting as a suggestion from myself.
Okay.
Was it elaborated on or discussed? I didn't feel the cooperation was there with that meeting.
Yeah, that meeting
Like I said,
was
we
not-
made some suggestions and basically were told,
No.
yeah.
That was
Okay, so,
basically it.
so you're raising it here with council. What's your hope? You're asking council to do this?
That we could at least explore the possibilities of everybody working together. Let's not like make a haste decision to close the arches. Clearly, that's not what people want, and not what I don't think it's like the right thing to do at this time, especially with all the congestion, and let's see a parking plan that works, and you can decide on it next year or the year after. But I mean, as an immediate, yeah, I would say if we could sit down and talk about it, it'd probably be a good start.
Okay. Thank you very much
And
for
we
your
are
presentation.
concerned about the farmers. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. That's-
Okay. With closing the arches, that's normally the direct access to the market. It really is. So a lot of people go through the arches and then right into the municipal parking lot there. And by closing the arches, I think it's closing off a main part of the way people get to the market. They go in, they go out, they're there for 15 minutes. They buy their produce that they want. I know I'm one of them. And I'm just worried that if they cut off that access and make it much more difficult to come through, whether farmers are going to lose sales. And truthfully, I've been at the market meetings, and the farmers are very worried.
Thank you. I'm gonna, you've made your presentation, so
Okay,
now's
yeah.
the time for questions. I'm sorry, and
Okay.
that's
Okay.
how we work. So
just wanted
we
to
do
know.
have another question from Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two very brief questions through you. When you brought it up to the farmer's market, the suggestion that you've laid out at the end of your presentation, what was the response?
That was an option. Definitely, it was something we could consider, for
So
sure.
the farmer's market
Nobody
were in
said
favor
no.
of pursuing that?
There was no vote, and I know
Yeah,
that
we
we have to vote in those
Was there any
situations.
discussion around the issue?
There was
I think they said it could be
a
Plan B.
Plan B. Yeah, absolutely. That's,
So it is
to me,
a
that
plan.
means-
Okay?
Perhaps, Mr. Mayor, we could hear from the chair of the farmer's market. I know it's breaking from protocol, but since he's here and we're trying to wrestle with this rather contentious issue, it might be appropriate.
So it's with the leave of council that we would be able to do that, and councilors, are you all right with that? Mr. Arbor, would you please
Did you have another
indulge
question
council
for us?
and the just hold on for a second.
I think maybe something that we should say, like, been hearing, tidbits of information about supper market for the past 2 to 3 months. But up until about a week and a half ago was the first time we were invited to come to a meeting with the people who were on the supper market committee. So that was the first time we even got to know who was even on the supper market committee. So really, for us to get into any serious discussions since that happened, trying to get our first week of market going and whatnot, we really haven't had time. We've just talked around a little bit, but we haven't made any decisions. We couldn't make a decision without sitting down with, maybe some members of the supper market committee and say, well, look, can we do this, or can we do that, or do we have to just throw up our hands and walk away? But
Okay.
I think it would be nice if we could find some way of working together, because, let's face it, it's going to turn out a heck of a lot better for everybody if we sit down, hammer out some kind of working arrangement, even for this year if it has to go this year, get something going over the next few weeks and see where we can go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Arbor, for answering that question. Councillor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as a follow-up to Mr. Arbor, Fred, your farmer's market is bound by a 51% minimum of farmers, actual growers. How would you compensate for that? I mean, I understand you're at that limit right now, so how would
Well,
you?
yeah. If you came through the market right now, first week, it's a little tough because the growing season just hasn't started. But, when we're full swing, then we have But, you know, we're just hanging around there 51, 52%. But, you know, we're always, if there's an opening, we like to work in people at growers, because usually during the course of the season, we get few people, few growers around. They've got some, you know, they don't apply the start of the year, but come August or September, they've got some stuff they want to try and sell, and so if we've got an opening, we can work them in. So some days we do manage to get well above our 51. But you're supposed to maintain 51% to be a regular farmer's market. Otherwise, you're like the City of Welland Market or the City of St. Catharines, which really aren't considered as actual farmers markets.
Thank you for that.
Again, Mr. Mayor, through you. So, Fred, in order to add an appropriate number of supper market vendors or proposed supper market vendors, you would have to at least add 1-to-1 or 2-to-1
The stage
of
of the
growers
game,
in order
probably, yeah.
to stay.
1-to-1.
So if we had, you know, if you had one food vendor, you'd have to have another farmer. You know, if you had 2 or 3, yeah, one and one
Do we have
anyway.
them on our list, Fred? Do we have that many farmers on our list?
Well, I'm not sure right now.
Yeah, that's
I don't
the
think so
important
right
thing.
now, but
That's
then
the-
maybe you gotta go around and start chasing up farmers.
We can find farmers.
Anyways, that's,
Okay.
you know, that's what best I could answer that question at this stage.
Thank you
of the
for
game.
that. We appreciate that. Councillor Kersey, anything further?
No, my next question was really the crux of the question. Do you have that many growers on your wait list that you could accommodate 10 additional growers in,
No, we
as
couldn't.
well as 10 food vendors?
Well, it would be pretty difficult to do that, and the other is where, you know, if you're gonna move them away from the arches, where you're gonna have that many spots to put 20 more vendors up anyways.
We thought like just the restaurants surrounding the, like the
On
immediate
Main.
concerns, the 3 or 4 restaurants there.
That's
That would
something
mean
that,
6 or 8 in total.
that's something I think I would like to discuss, you know. Do we need 10 more food vendors, or should we be trying to help out the 2 or 3 that are having issues with the farmers market? I mean, do we have to, do we have to help out Mossmo on Thursday night when his parking lot's full anyways? Or the Lazy Loon when their parking lot is fairly full?
Okay.
You know, that's just, maybe that's something that we should be sitting down and discussing. Maybe it should have been discussed from the very beginning.
Thank you, Mr. Arbor. Anything further,
Here,
Councillor?
one last question. Are you, all of you, farmers, growers, or food vendors?
Standing here,
Yeah.
I own Nature's Corner Bakery and Cafe, so I'm a food vendor.
I'm a
baker.
food vendor.
And unfortunately, you know what
Yes,
I
we
am.
are.
You know,
Thanks.
we're,
We are all
we
food
just
vendors,
happen to
but
be
we
3 of the
Are good with
executive
more food
members.
vendors.
Okay.
We're
I
very
have,
happy to welcome
I have
more
one
food
quick
vendors.
question for Mr. Arbor, and it was raised in the presentation. It says here in the presentation that some vendors do not require additional, farmers market vendors do not require additional flooring or power. Who might
I
describe?
spoke with Jillian in regards to that, and she's our public health
Okay, thank you.
inspector. And the only people that really need any flooring underneath of them are people that are actually cooking. So even a baker, like such as myself, we do bring soup down there from time to time and chili. But if I didn't and I had everything prepackaged, I could definitely move out to the grass. And or I could put a flooring down and move out if I was close enough to power. But people like the Shriners popcorn, anybody else can move. It's just the people that are cooking.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And we appreciate your delegation. Thank you. And Mr. Arbor, thank you for doing double duty. It's been moved by Councillor Papp, seconded by Councillor Lane, that the information presented by Wendy Wilson, and Rachel Hames requesting that council not approve the supper market on Thursday evenings be received for information. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you again for your presentation and for your work on this. And I presume that also includes the present, I don't know if they're petitions or whatever, the information. So thank you so much. And now I believe we have representatives from the Supper Market Committee with their presentation. Is it Leah Atherton who's going to be, Lee Atherton, sorry, who's going to be presenting. Thank you for joining us, and I see that maybe you can also introduce other members of the committee that are here.
I will. Mayor and members of the council, I'm Lee Atherton. I'm the vice chair of the Supper Market Committee. I'd like to introduce a couple of supports that we have here from our Candy Ashby, Fred Davies and John Nickel. Do I have anybody else here? So over the past month, the newly established Supper Market Committee has met on a weekly basis, working towards creating a supper market that will complement the farmers market and bandshell concerts, while creating an opportunity to showcase Pelham business community. Our vision is to taste Pelham, featuring music, agriculture, arts, retail, and culinary, promoting all three events as one destination. Pelham has a place to be on Thursday as well as the rest of the week. Recently, the Supper Market Committee is committed to working together with the Farmers Market and the Bandshell Committee by featuring the produce, or with the Farmers Market featuring the produce and promoting the weekly concerts. Recently, the Supper Market Committee hosted a meeting with the Farmers Market and Bandshell Concert Committee executives. The following are points that we have discussed. Obviously, the one is the Thursday evening supper market. The question has been asked by the farmers market, why not another night? Why Thursday evenings? It was explained Thursday evenings is the night that local businesses are suffering due to lack of customers, and this is the opportunity to showcase Pelham through our retailers, through our additional food vendors, and make Pelham a destination for people to come, enjoy the farmers market, shop at the farmers market, enjoy the free concert, and then enjoy, obviously, our culinary as well from Pelham. One of the things the market committee requested from us is that we run on the same hours of operation, and we are in total agreement that basically as we run on the same operations, we close down on the same operation. The one big concern, obviously, for everyone is the location of the supper market. The Supper Market Committee agrees with the Bandshell Committee that the location of the proposed Pelham Supper Market would be better located in Peace Park, one of the flat area between the Farmers Market and the Bandshell behind us. This location, which was the first choice of the committee, although there are some challenging and obstacles that we face with this location this year. The grass surface proposes health issues. The regulations require a raised floor, painted and sealed 4 inches off the ground that are set up on the grass. It is unlikely that the vendors would build and remove weekly. The more permanent structure could be a level patio slab that would not only accommodate the supper market, but could house the other events such as the art show for Summerfest and other new events. For this year, to get this pilot off the ground, we propose that the location is under the arches. We propose that the town look into including such a venue in the proposed Peace Park master plan to accommodate the supper market in the future. The second challenge is electrical. Public health requires vendors to have electric refrigerated units to hold food. Unfortunately, there is insufficient power at the Peace Park location to accommodate the town's portable electric panel at present. We propose that the electric panel be brought to this location to accommodate the requirements or house the supper market under the arches for this year to get the pilot off the ground. The third thing is alcohol. I think there's a bit of a misconception here for the supper market that this is all that we do. Basically, the alcohol and the consumption of alcoholic beverages is meant to complement the evening and showcase local craft breweries, i.e. Oast House, Silversmith, Brimstone, Niagara College, and Pelham's own Two Brothers, as well as Niagara wineries. The AGCO, the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, is encouraging partnerships with this and promote to buy local. This does not distract from the family environment. It is basically meant to complement. If you go out for dinner with your family, would you not consume a glass of beer or a glass of wine? Consumption of alcoholic beverages would be monitored within a confined area, much as the Summerfest concert last year, which we held in Peace Park. Utilizing the structure built, the sale of tickets would be controlled and monitored. The Canettes are a service club. We are considering to help us with this control. If power and flooring are not available for this year, the licensed area would be under the arches only. Basically, we're saying that it's a constricted, monitored area. The consumption of alcohol is only within that confined area. It is not meant to come over into Peace Park or into the farmers market. Service staff would be smart sieve trained and to monitor consumption. Service of alcoholic beverages would commence at 4:30 and end at 8:30. So 4 hours of consumption to complement the supper market. One thing we're proposing is the educational highlights. Our chefs in Fonthill and our restaurateurs could include the farmers market producers with one of our chefs from the supper market to showcase and educate supper market guests on the benefits of using local farmers. Chefs can use local farmers within our own farmers market. Chefs can use local farmers within our own farmers market to produce items for sale in the supper market, i.e. if we have corn, we can bring corn into the market, and that could be our educational highlight for that day as well. One big thing obviously was brought up by the farmers market was the competition. The same process would be used in the selection of Summerfest. The committee will review the application and advise vendors on food selection. Our intent is not to compete with the food vendors in the farmers market, but to enhance our Pelham experience on Thursday evenings. Showcasing includes the farmers market producers. Parking. Our vendors will be tagged and will be able to park at the back of 1440 Pelham Street. So we've already addressed our parking issues with our vendors. For our vendors, I should say. The committee feels that the proposed supermarket will attract new people to Pelham and add another layer to the evening, hopefully attracting people to come earlier, shop, have dinner, and experience Pelham and not just come for the free music. If we give them reason to come, they will come. Through social media promotion, advertising, and the committees collaborating to have a great flow through the whole town hall square, we feel that everyone will benefit from the addition of the Pelham Supper Market. We want to work together to make Pelham a destination. I want to close out also with the first line of Gail's email saying that she is in support of the supper market, just not under the arches.
Thank you very much, Ms. Atherton, for your presentation. We appreciate it, and thank you for the members of the Supper Market Committee and other committees that are here this evening. Questions for our presenter? I see a couple of councillors on the edge of their chairs, so we'll start with Councillor Durley, then King, then Ribiak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the Speaker. Thanks for that information. It does clear up a lot of things. I'm just wondering, since your first choice was to be not under the arches, and under the arches seems to be the default position that is certainly under question, I'm just wondering if, since a couple of the restaurants that are involved or will be involved with the supper market, the parking lots in behind Zest and Cafe on Main, and I'm sure you can make an arrangement with Connect Hearing and all that. There is paved area there and power available in those buildings. I'm sure an arrangement could be made with these people. Has this been explored, or could it be explored?
It has not been explored as of yet. As some of you may have noticed, last year we tried a little pilot where presentations and
Fonthill Art and Home.
Thank you. Sorry. ourselves and Cafe and Main did try to come out. Basically, we're looking at something more structured so that people know where to go.
I'm just thinking the time is of the essence here, and through you, Mr. Mayor, and again, the controversy regarding the arches and the safety things, and I would like to hear from the fire chief and bylaw as to what the thoughts are about safety. If in fact there is an emergency, would that create a real problem in the event of emergency for vehicles to come in?
So we're going to hear about that.
Sorry.
This is time for presenters, questions to the presenter. So you can raise that when we get to the report, if you don't mind. Thank you. Councillor King?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Lee, my question really has to do with the obstacles that you would face if you relocated, rather than from under the arches to the grass area. Is it possible that those obstacles could be overcome for this season, even if it meant that the supper market was delayed a week or two?
I believe that would be up to town council. At a cost.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ribbiak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, if I may. We've been discussing the supper market, and it occurs to me that don't know that I'm entirely clear as to what the concept is, just physically, what it would look like. Are we talking about tables and chairs and people sitting down having a meal, or are we talking about booths where people buy essentially a stand-up meal?
Yes.
How does it work?
Basically, if nobody's involved, we do have a second location in Niagara on Lake, which we're involved in their supper market, which is at the end of our plaza on private land. Basically, if you think of Christmas in Pelham, and when we had the thing under the arches, Christmas in Pelham, we had food vendors, we had wine and beer. Nobody was out of control. I mean, the look is basically the same. We're looking at 10 vendors, food vendors, or 10 vendor permits for there, one retail and one art component in there. So it's not just the food component as well.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Would the sale of the alcohol be at all of the booths, or is it done centrally at one bar, or
Yes.
how does that work?
Yes, so basically the same as Christmas in Pelham. There's one booth that's monitored, the tickets are sold, and the consumption is done within the arches. So it's one ticket. It's not each individual vendor selling liquor. It's one vendor. And the vendor is the town, or our committee. Our committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to follow up, if I can. So the locations were considered, were initially was Peace Park, because it was flat and large.
Not just
Presumably.
because of that. Basically, for the club, we could incorporate all three markets, or all three committees, within one area. So to accommodate the 2,000 people or so that are already attending the band shell, now we can hopefully have the opportunity to have them come earlier and enjoy our farmers market, enjoy our supper market, and then enjoy our free music. That is the ultimate location.
That's the ultimate location. And the arches were selected as the second choice, the only other place that was available. Is that why it was chosen?
The infrastructure is there. It's already been proven through Christmas in Pelham that it does work as a venue.
Is there a third position?
Not as of yet.
Third location?
Not as of yet.
You haven't considered a third location?
No.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Other questions for our presenter? Councillor Lane?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, originally, how many restaurants locally were to be involved in this? Or
We have 10 food vendor permits. We have 12 vendors in there. One is a retail, one is arts, and the 10 vendor permits are for food.
are they all from Pelham?
That is our intent.
And they're all from downtown?
Not necessarily.
But so there's 3 restaurants that are downtown that are basically are the ones, quote, that were suffering from Thursday night?
It's not just food vendors that are suffering. It is also retail.
Right. Thank you for now.
Okay, thank you. Other questions?
Thank
Councillor
you, Mr.
Kersey?
Mayor. I just have one question. I'd just like to clarify a point that was made earlier by asking a question through you, if I may. Lee, what was your sense of the spirit that was at the meeting when we did the joint meeting? Was it contentious, argumentative, antagonistic, or was it conciliatory in an attempt to try and work with those other vendors to try and resolve the issues?
At the beginning, it was very tense, let's say, but I thought by the end we were trying to come to some sort of agreement on how we could make this work together.
Thank you.
Thank you. No other further questions. It has been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Bailey, that the information presented by the Supper Market Committee delegation seeking council's approval of the 2014 location and operating procedures for the Pelham Supper Market be received. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thanks again for your delegation.
Thank you.
Council will recall that we reordered the agenda, so the next item on the agenda is 13.22, Thursday evening parking plan. I understand that Ms. Van Ravensway has a presentation that you'd like to quickly make. So I'm going to do we put it on the floor first, I think? Take your time.
How do I make this thing go? No, I don't want slideshow. You don't want I want an automatic. I want me. You have to do a slideshow first. I do? Yes. From beginning? Okay. Then you're just going to tap the enter to move it. Okay. Okay, I will, through you, Mr. Mayor, I came up with this PowerPoint presentation only because it may be simpler to understand. Just to give you a little bit of background, 2003, the farmers market began. In 2005, the Bandshell Committee concert series began after a successful Village of Fonthill 150th anniversary. Both activities have operated independently with assistance from the town when required, and they're both very successful. And that is why we need a Thursday evening parking plan. With the increase in the attendance, also came an increase in parking complaints from the area business community. Mainly because of little control of parking or the attention on parking. During the past 3 to 4 years, we have been having meetings with the farmers market, Bandshell Committee, and the area businesses to no avail. So this year, the beginning of February, I believe it is, council approved a Thursday evening parking plan that I presented. And the action plan was to meet with the Farmers Market Committee on its own, the Fonthill Plaza businessmen, also contact the downtown business community. And I don't see the Bandshell Committee, but the Bandshell Committee is supposed to be up there. And set up a parking committee at the end of it so that we could control parking. Staff met with the plaza merchants. At that meeting, the merchants expressed frustration through parking issues of previous years. although they were willing to work with staff to improve the situation. They offered the side, okay, so they offered the, I'm really multitasking now. Their side parking lot, as indicated, event parking. And the front, under the condition that the front parking lot would be restricted to plaza patrons and employees. They also requested that paid security or police be present to control the front parking area, as they had in the past had major issues with lack of business due to lack of parking. The plaza committee felt, or the plaza merchants would like to be recognized as a sponsor in doing this. Let's go on here. In meeting with the Bandshell Concert Committee, we requested that the concert committee come up with their own emergency management plan and their own parking plan to deal with their volunteers, their sound equipment, their bands, entertainment that are showing up. And we worked with the fire department along with parking enforcement in coming up with their parking plans. The Bandshell parking plan, in which is attached, the whole emergency plan is attached to my report, but just briefly, they would be parking, their volunteer parking would be at Star Tile, as well as their sound truck parking would be at Star Tile. They have acquired 3 spaces at 6 Highway 20, and their band parking would be at behind Forest Green Creations. And they would have 2 senior parking designated spots for their 2 volunteers. On this as well, you will see the Station 3 will be present with their ATV to supply first aid. A community defibrillator also will be present in the park, in which all 3 activities will be using. The Farmers Market Committee, we met separately with them as well, and staff and the executive came up with their emergency management plan and their parking plan. Their parking plan was mainly for their vendors, as their each space, they do have their own parking in their stall. Although with if any additional vehicles are required for their vendors, the market has asked them to come up with somewhere else to park off-site and not near the farmers market. The market clerk has received permission to park at Connect Hearing, as well as in meeting with the Farmers Market Committee, staff have been able to, working through the bylaw department, acquire 30-minute parking adjacent to the farmers market, in which you can see at the top is 30-minute parking. That it will be for their patrons, so they can come in, park, go and shop, and leave again, to leave additional parking for more clients. Again, while the Bandshell Committee is not, or while the concert series is not in play, their first aid and defibrillator will be in one of the vendor sites. The Supper Market Committee, not knowing exactly where they're going, although process of elimination at the moment, everything that I'm presenting is under the arches. which can be changed easily if it is not under the arches. So the Supper Market Committee as well has come up with their emergency management plan and parking plan. The plan, or the Supper Market, this is based under the arches, as I said. And as it was somewhat mentioned, most of the vendors are within walking distance of the area, and they would be using their own parking lots, although anyone else would be issued a parking pass, and at 1440, there would be designated parking for them. So basically that is showing the 30-minute parking for the farmer's market, but other than that, I believe I've described everything that's on that plan. In working with the plaza merchants, it's important to them as well as all the other volunteers that anyone that's coming into town to experience the destination, that they be greeted welcomely and not by a security guard. So therefore, we're fortunate to receive support from the Fonthill Lions Club, the Fonthill Kinsman Club, and the newly established Fonthill Cadets Club to act as parking attendants at the plaza area, and mainly at the plaza area in the front, and the area that the plaza has donated to the special events. If this is approved, we will meet with them and finalize everything. With regard to the parking assistance, as mentioned previously, we would require some form of security. We priced out 2 options, and private security is a much doable option. And it's our hope we would begin with 3 officers or security guards initially at night, and it's our hope as the attendees get familiar with our parking plan, we won't need the security and we can cut back, thus cutting back on expenses. As well, I believe it was mentioned previously that area businesses were contacted with regard to additional parking lots after hours. In doing this, we received additional parking lots that we've never had previously, and we also received further information on parking complaints. So in doing that, we will be also offering parking assistance, or we'll be monitoring parking in 3 area parking lots to hopefully avoid non-welcomed parking, and so the businesses can still do their business. So staff and businesses have cooperatively identified 709 parking spaces plus 15 barrier-free parking spaces. Also, there's an additional 200 parking spaces that are available if a shuttle was in place. Well, 200 plus, so that would be for the arena as well as AK Wade School, and a circuit could be made. The report shows a cost as well for shuttle service. Let's see. In the past, okay, I don't know how to go back, I'm sorry. But in the past, here we go. This is the parking areas that have been promoted on the website of the bandshell, which equates to approximately 400 parking spaces. So in addition to, we are looking at an additional 600 parking spaces at least, and further if a shuttle is implemented. The shuttle would cost $250 per evening. I won't go through all of the new parking. I can if you wish, but I'm sure you can see it on your areas. Your attachment. Also, additional measures that we have implemented, we've eliminated all use of the municipal office meeting space. So any meeting rooms on Thursday evenings have been booked up so that we don't incur additional people coming downtown to try to meet. Also, we will be relocating all vehicles, all municipal vehicles to other areas so that we will give up additional parking spaces. Staff, we are investigating a bike valet that will be implemented in the Peace Park at an additional $40 a week. And we'll be encouraging cycling as well as walking in our promotions. It's very important that if this plan is approved, that promotion is well done. It'll be on websites, social media. We will be also incorporating signage, flyers, and announcements. All security and parking attendants will have communication systems so that they will know when a parking lot is filled and when they're not. It'd be great if I knew how to operate this. Traffic flow, and again, it's difficult to see this. It's attached to your report. Traffic flow would, Bob, can you see that? Can you point to the arrows? So traffic flow, if the arches are closed, would be down Pelham Street to Highway 20 to Station Street, up Pelham Town Square, and around Town Square. Or through the parking lot, which will be identified and greeted. People will be greeting. And the flyers will be there for circulation. The total budget to do this would be approximately $8,000. We are looking at investigating in-kind donations as well as grants to offset some of the costs. There is a small grant available that could offset signage that we'll be looking into. This year, because of the costs, we're coming up with costs that the Bandshell Committee and the Farmers Market, all three committees, were not expecting. So they've set their rates, and their budgets just do not allow for additional expenses. So in staff's recommendation is to receive the parking plan as presented, the council support and endorse the parking plan contained therein, as well as the council support covering the 2014 implementation expenses with an upset limit of $8,100 as identified in the report. Also in the report, it stated that for 2015 that the three committees would budget to cover these costs.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Van Ravensway, for your presentation. I'm going to put the motion on the floor. It's been moved by Councillor Kersey, seconded by Councillor Lane. The council received the issue sheet regarding the Thursday evening parking plan. The council support and endorse the parking plan contained therein. The council support covering the 2014 implementation expenses with an upset limit of $8,100 as identified in the report. And Councillor Durley indicated he had a question one of the previous ones for the fire chief, I think, in relation to the parking plan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there a concern if the arches are closed, Chief, for emergency vehicles accessing Peace Park area on a Thursday night when all these events are taking place?
Mr. Mayor, no, because starting in June till September, fire crews will be attending during the high points of attendance.
With firefighting equipment?
They'll be there. They're going to bring the RTV, and also probably you'll see the pump of the rescue. One of those. We're going to commit a truck each week. And then all three halls are gonna rotate, take turns. So one week might be RTV, the next week. So, but making access down into this area, whether we come in off Station Street, go down Port Robinson, or come in off Highway 20, really doesn't matter. It's not really, the arches aren't really a good area to bring big trucks in anyways. They don't turn very well in there, so we would probably avoid it in the first
Good.
place.
Thank you. Thank you. Just
Go ahead, Councilor.
another question, Mr. Mayor, through you to staff. $8,100, now it's mentioned that Van Shell or nobody has it in their budget. Where's it gonna come from in our budget?
Ms. Poupon? Or Ms., who wants to answer that?
Yeah.
Ms. Van Ravensway?
Sorry, I meant to put it on. It is in my report. It will be coming out of Recreation operating budget 2014.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further, other questions, comments? The motion's on the floor so we can debate it. Councilor Lane?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. If in fact the supper market did not go ahead, would this parking plan need to be implemented at a cost of $8,100? Because we haven't had it before, and we haven't had that much of an issue, as I understand it, that we've had now, that we're talking about creating.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Van Ravensway?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, definitely. The actual, the parking has never been addressed, and by implementing this plan, it will solve its intent is to solve the issues at the plaza, in which they're happy with the plan, as well as the area businesses.
Thank you, Councilor Lane. Other questions, comments? Councilor Ribbiak?
Mr. Mayor, through you to Ms. Van Ravensway. A considerable part of that is for security guards and or police. I wonder if you can just paint a picture of what exactly these people will be doing. Where are they going to be located? What exactly is the intent of their presence? What will they be saying to people? Can you kind of fill that in for me a little bit?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The intent of the security guard, and this is only by past experience with the plaza, they have found that attendees have been very rude to the plaza merchants, and they will just park no matter what. The service clubs do not want to be in any way in any confrontation. And just knowing the past practice and how people will just go ahead and park. As I said at the beginning of the season, we wish to implement that area is very large, so 2 security guards in that area and 1 up around this area.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for greater clarity, when you say 2 in this area and 1 in that other area, what are those areas? What are those locations?
Okay, there will be a volunteers, service clubs will greet the people off of Highway 20. Not right at they'll have them come in, greet them at the plaza entrance on Highway 20. There will be another service member at the Pelham Town Square, just directing traffic, as well as near the beer store and on the other, in front of the post office. In both of those areas, there will be a security guard roaming. So in other words, if someone comes in and says, oh yeah, I'm going to Shoppers to shop, and they go and park and get out their chairs and meander over to the Peace Park, they will be asked to leave.
Thank you. And again, just to paint this picture a little bit more. So you anticipate that everyone coming into the plaza will be spoken with? They'll be stopped? There'll be a conversation that goes on? What are you here to do? Where are you going to be parking?
Mm-hmm.
Go in that direction. If you're here to see the show,
Yeah.
come on in. If you're here to do some shopping, that sort of thing?
It's similar to the boot drives, or, you know, the Kinsman Club have their MS drives, and as you go in, and they won't be in costume. I don't think for this, but they will, greet the people and say, hi, welcome to Pelham. What's your pleasure tonight? You here to shop, or are you here to, go to the farmer's market or the bandshell or whatever? And they will direct them to a parking area.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, so you anticipate these guards will be directing drivers as they come in, as they learn where it is that they want to go, and basically giving information. But you also indicate that if it's spotted that somebody is there, they're going to be chased and told to leave. Is that?
The service clubs will be greeting people, not the security guards.
Not the security.
Not
Oh,
the
okay.
security
Okay.
guards,
So
no.
this is
You'll
becoming more
be
clear.
greeted by a Pelhamite welcoming them to the area.
Right, and if I understand, then there will be security guards in the area to respond to the need to ask people to leave. But the actual control of traffic will be done by service club members.
Correct. Adults.
And just one final question. The experience in the past does not indicate that there's been any major traffic tie-up at 20 or elsewhere as a result of traffic being slowed to have that conversation?
No, the only traffic tie-up that we witness is under the arches. So it'd be traffic on Highway Pelham Street turning on, waiting for Pelham's cars to come by, and turning left onto Pelham Street. And then there's traffic congestion in front of the office on both ways, waiting to go.
Interesting. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just let me explore that for a moment, if you don't mind. So what you're saying is that if the arches are open on Thursday nights, it actually contributes to a traffic problem? Is that what you're saying?
It's not only Thursday nights, it's every night, about 4 o'clock. But Thursday nights, obviously, with the additional attendees, it's worse.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Those are my
Thank you.
questions.
Other questions, comments regarding the motion before us, the parking plan? Councillor Papp?
Very quickly, thank you for the plan. It's been a lot of work, a lot of time spent on it, a lot of negotiation, and in response also, Councilor Beck, it's the first time we've actually put control measures in and actually have taken all of the different components. So it's a leap of faith. We have to see how this is going to work, and it'll be adjusted, because there's some other things that may change next year. Some of you know, the LCBO will be moving out. There's all kinds of things that are happening. Peace Park's going to be redeveloped, so let's give it a whirl, and then let's talk about also the other issue, the Supper Park, and I think we'll find that the security guards are there purposely to ensure that there is no, and there hasn't, I'd say it's rare, there has been in the past, some people have illegally parked and refused to move. We've been there to watch this, and in fact, NRP had to come in and tell 2 people to physically remove their vehicle. So we're trusting that with this plan, it'll at least address all those concerns. Okay?
Thank you. Others? Just want to build on what Councillor Papp has indicated, and a question from an earlier councillor. You know, this has been discussed, parking issues, parking problems. It's one of the #1 things that people talk to us about in the summertime in relation to this very, very successful bandshell and very, very successful farmers market. What this plan does is it formalizes that. Because unfortunately, with that success, it's meant that some others have had to pay the price with their businesses. They haven't had access that they're normally used to on a Thursday night. So it might be a class that had to be canceled on a Thursday night in the plaza. It was one of the folks that we heard from. Others that expected all kinds of customers because the parking lot's full and their customers can't get in. So this helps formalize all of that. I know there were nights when I was requested to call the former fire chief to see if we can get a rescue truck down here because it was after hours, and can we get something down here because they're expecting a huge crowd. This formalizes it. This prepares it. It's almost like Boy Scouts, be prepared for that, because we know that there's a huge success here, and we want to accommodate that. Is it a little bit different? Yeah, maybe it's a little bit different to what we're used to. However, when one goes to other events, other venues, both in the town and in other communities, one expects that there's some sort of parking Okay, where do I park? Here's a map, here's where you can park, or check out the website, or, oh, great, there's a friendly person here that's gonna greet me and tell me that that lot's full and maybe to try somewhere else. So it's a great plan, and I certainly, on behalf of colleagues, appreciate staff working on this, but more importantly, the businesses, the farmers market, the supper market, the band shell that worked on this plan. Sometimes those things have costs, but it's a modest cost. And if you take that over the length of the summer to accommodate this, you know, what's the cost of business for some of these businesses? What's the cost of an emergency situation that can be resolved quite quickly? So I'm very supportive of this, and I thank those that have been involved in the development. I am prepared to call the question unless there's other discussion regarding this point. Going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. The next item is the supper market report itself, and this is for those that are following with the agenda. This is 13.2.1, and it has been moved by Councillor Papp, seconded by Councillor Kersey. The council received the issue sheet, Pelham Supper Market, and that for reasons outlined in this report, council designate Pelham Supper Market as an event of municipal significance to be held on Thursday evenings from June 12th to September 4th, 2014, and that the proposed operating details for the supper market be approved as presented in this report, and that staff assist the supper market committee in proceeding with the implementation of the 2014 supper market. Discussion to that items. Do the mover and the seconder want to make any comments?
Well, we'll hold off. Yeah.
Okay, you want to hear from colleagues first?
I want to hear from colleagues first.
Who wants to start? Comments? Councillor Rivak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is obviously developed into a pretty contentious issue. There are lots of people who are in support and lots of people who are against. And as I've indicated to some people on the weekend, I honestly had no idea which way I was going to go on this thing until I heard the debate this evening. We haven't had all the debate yet, but let me tell you where I am right now. I think everything about the proposal that there be a supper market in Pelham is good. The only thing that I have real issue with is its location under the arches. What I've come to learn in discussing this issue with others is that the farmers market has a concern, and I think it's a legitimate concern, that closing the arches deprives them of the opportunity to have people come to them in and out quickly, make their purchase, leave quickly. That the congestion that's going to be created, in their opinion, by closing the arches is going to reduce the ability of people to come close to the market, make their purchases, leave very quickly. I do note in the parking plan that there are, I think, a half dozen or so slots indicated for, I think it was 30-minute parking. 30 minutes sounds like a little longer than what was described to me as the length of time that people wanted to be there shopping at the farmers market. And given the nature of the farmers market, I think that is probably a significant part of the business that they do. People who come to get what they're aiming to get and then leave. So closing the arches creates a problem for me, and I'm just not sure that it's entirely thought out, particularly since that wasn't the first choice for a location. The first choice was in Peace Park. There are clearly reasons why that makes it a better location. The problem, as I understand it from the report, the problems are logistical ones and financial ones. That is, creating the kind of flooring that people require to have the supper market there. Apparently needs to be portable, has to go in and out. We're not prepared to do that. There's a cost associated with it, a pretty significant cost. It was indicated that it was some $50,000 to do the work. And I just don't know that we've given enough thought to those particular issues. So where I am right now is really still torn, and it's a fine thing, but I think that closing the arches really gives me a problem with this. So I unless I hear something in this debate to really sway that's what I need to hear is our arguments why closing the arches won't be overly harmful to the farmers market and other stakeholders who are already there. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor? Others? Councillor Lane?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to reiterate what I just heard from Councillor Ribbiak. I do agree that I don't believe that at this point in time that under the arches is something that I could agree to now based on what I've heard here tonight and looking at the situation, traffic flows and all these things. There's other businesses that are impacted. There's other things to take into account. We have a library that gets a lot of traffic. We have the liquor store. We have people going to the post office. There's a lot of traffic that comes into town, not just to come to the band shell or go to the farmer's market or go to the mall or what have you. I just don't think this is a good fit. And then also I've heard tonight that there wasn't a lot of thought given to, quote, private property for a trial for the Supperfest. That stuck out in my mind as being something that should have been explored possibly before it come to the town and ask us to close off streets for their benefit. I think some thought should have been given to the fact that private property should have been looked at and start this supper market out maybe on a smaller scale to see how in fact it works. I know that there's a lot of people that come to the band shell, come to the market. There's a lot of people to draw on. Businesses have their own way of doing things. Possibly Thursday night specials might be something to attract people. I don't know. But I don't agree that closing the arches, there's just too many variables that I see. I can just see traffic being utter chaos on Station Street. I can see utter chaos in the mall. Even with the parking plan, I still see it as being not a good situation. And now if someone is saying to me, we're going to bring another 400 people into town because of this excessive supper market, I think we're asking for trouble that's beyond our realm of being able to handle. So as I see it now, I wouldn't support this.
Thank you very much, Councillor.
Thank you.
Councillor King?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I also am very torn on this issue because, from the start, I said that I am very supportive of the supper market, but my concern has always been parking and the closing of the arches and the traffic flow as a result of the closing of the arches. I'm happy to hear from Lee Atherton's presentation that there has been given some thought to other options to relocate the supper market. But at the same time, I'm saddened that it may not be a possibility this year. And at the same time, I'm also very happy about the parking plan because I do think that it will make a huge difference, not only to the flow of traffic, but it will direct people and get them in the habit of where they need to park. Contrary to what my counterpart, Councillor Lane, is saying, I believe that, yes, probably it will, the supper market, an introduction of a supper market probably will draw more people into the downtown area, but then I put that up as a question at the same time, because are these businesses losing business on Thursday nights because people don't know where to park, can't access the restaurants and the various businesses on Pelham Street or surrounding? Are they people that are already attending that would access those businesses if they could park, if the supper market was part? So, all of this, in my mind, are still questions that are not answered. I really I really would love to see the supper market. I'm just not happy still about it having to be located under the arches. And if there was another possible location for it, I would be 100% behind it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Durley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I said pretty well all I have to say at committee. I really don't have much to add other than the possibility, as I presented to the presenter, that and building on what Councillor Lane said, looking at the private property behind the restaurants that are in there as a possible location with proper social media notification, with proper advertising. I'm sure people will be made aware that that is there. And again, it's starting off with perhaps a smaller thing, and then we could look at next year providing the venue at Peace Park that is necessary and enlarge it at that particular point in time, because the concern I have really, as I mentioned at the last meeting, is the closing down of that street, and that still is something I'm not convinced is a good idea.
Thank you very much, Councillor Durley. I'm going to, I know that a couple of councillors want to speak to it, but I'm going to just ask a couple of questions first. And I think some members of council have identified that location is a big issue here, and that's what mostly we're hearing about. And I think some of the concern that's also there in the presentations that we've received this evening about it being on a Thursday is really hinging on the location and the impact on traffic and the activities. When I hear Ms. Atherton's vision that she described in answering some of the questions around the table, I think that's why council was so excited about the possibility of the supper market. And that's the vision that we have, as we've just heard. Members of council do see it as a vibrant way, a way to add on to the very successful activities that are already happening on Thursday nights in our downtown here in Fonthill. Building on the success of the band shell, building on the success of the supper market, using, as we heard, some of the products that are there and seasonably available in the supper products that are offered, and some of the successes that we've seen in some of the festivals and activities, whether it's the Christmas in Pelham and that, what was it called, Freeze Fest or Shiver Fest, I guess it was, Winterfest, whatever that was called, and how wonderful that was with 1,000 people participating in that on a very cold evening. And council wants to build on that, and what I see from the two councillors on the committee and the members of the Supper Market Committee, that commitment to building on that and to making something very, very special. But it does seem that location is a key component, and that we know for many years that, and we're going to be discussing it on Thursday afternoon, about the idea of a downtown master plan, and the I'll say the medium term for that master plan, if we can find some dollars, Madam Treasurer, is to extend Churchill and use the arches as a festival area, as is being described here. But it seems like, and I hearken back to the creative problem-solving process that we use here, that we don't know what all the criteria are, the evaluation criteria, and what each of the sites, how they were evaluated. Why can't we do it in Peace Park? Why can't we do it behind Town Hall? Why can't it be in the driveway over here? What about the second parking lot here? What about some of the items that others have mentioned, private property, etc.? So that's the piece that we're missing, that evaluation of sites that would help convince us to say, this is the site that's being recommended. So certainly it's not anything against the vision. It's against some of the criteria, and we don't understand the reasons why that's being selected. And I think that we heard that quite clearly, members of council, from the community. They've come up with the rationales why it shouldn't be there, as opposed to the rationale, one reason or another, why it should be in one location or another. So those are my comments, and I would ask Councillor Papp or Councillor Kersey if you wanted to comment. And
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, members of council and colleagues. Thank you to all of you who presented, and I'll be very brief, and I've spoken to Councillor Kersey. We do respect you, as you respect us. We realize and want to make sure that this is success that's built upon success. That it is, as all of you did at the supper, as you did with the farmers market, I was here at the time, as you did with the band shell, it was a leap of faith in which all council members supported it, and generally the community was basically on board. The dilemma we face is actually a good dilemma. We're growing, we're changing, and we're trying to build on the strengths that you bring to us. When I heard the two presentations tonight, both from Fred and the members of the actual group from the market, it became clear to me and clear to Councillor Kersey, we need to go at this one more time. We need to defer this, sit down with all of you, and see if we can come up with a reasonable, resilient, and responsible solution to how we can proceed in the same manner that many of you mentioned, is collaborative, works together with all of you in that manner. So for that reason, I think, and I'll let Councillor Kersey, that I would like to table a motion to defer this and to proceed with a collaborative how might we session with the relevant groups involved.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Kersey, will you second that? And
I will second that, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to add a finite timeline, bringing it back to council at our next regular scheduled council meeting,
By
May
then.
20, or May
By-
22nd, I believe it is.
Yeah, they'll be brought back by May 22nd.
Okay. So the motion is to postpone pending a creative problem-solving session, or how might we session with relevant stakeholders, as you indicated, Councillor Papp, and to bring back the results of that and discuss this again on the 22nd of May.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions to that from members of council? Are we
Okay
ready
with that?
ready for the amendment? I guess it is. Are we ready for the motion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried, and the matter is postponed, as you heard, so that we can, members of the supper market and staff can work together with members of the community to help solve these, some of the issues that we've heard about this evening, and to move this forward. So thank you very much, all that have been here and participated in the discussion and the proceedings. Thank you. So that issue is completed, and now we move back to, for those that have their agendas, we move back to the scheduled agenda with a bit of a surprise. It's under number 7.3, report of our regional councillor, Councillor Brian Beatty. We hadn't expected you, sir, and yet you're here, so I'm sure you'll get into the reasons why.
Well, it's interesting, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, members of the council.
Maybe if you just hold off on a second. Thank you all for participating. I see that a few are leaving. Thank you, and thanks for your work on this.
Mr. Mayor, members of council and staff. This is the first report where I don't have anything that I particularly want to amplify, and it's a report that has an error. I am actually not in Toronto, as is obvious because of the cancellation, well, not cancellation, but postponement of Niagara Week until following the election. However, the Mayor and I did talk about sharing with you the actual priority list of items to be discussed in Niagara Week. So I would be open for any questions with regard to the report as it sits, and with regard to the several very positive issues in terms of the Niagara Week message, which has gone out. All the members of the government and opposition parties have their briefing notes. That's something we've done for several years, so that we're not presenting at the time. They've got it beforehand. Perhaps even there have been cases where they've given us some answers at the meeting. So this is well underway. It's obviously something that will be concluded following the election, and some very key areas. The most significant one I would like to comment on, just the one, because it's the subject of my column this week, is the fact I was very pleased to see the staff background with regard to the arguments for providing the GO train service. They want to have 2 morning, 2 evening trains. The summer train that happens, if you want to go to Toronto just for a day trip, you really can't do it, because I think the first train comes about 1:30 in the afternoon to go to Toronto. So we need to have 2 trains in the morning, 2 trains in the evening, running both directions. That's our view. We'd like to see it by the summer of 2015 for the Pan Am Games. I was very impressed with the fact that research was done from a 2011 study that shows, in fact, we have more commuters in Niagara who go to Hamilton, Halton, Peel, or Toronto than the residents of Barrie. And the residents of Barrie have had a permanent rail service for some time. Sure. So it's a case where there's very convincing evidence there in terms of going. The other myth that has been created is the fact that, well, the Welland Canal, the Lock 4 is a big problem because of the fact of the shipping of. They've done ghost schedules of trains. Had the trains been working for the last year, City of Niagara Falls and the Seaway Authority, and in fact there would be no interruption. And we have the insurance from the Seaway Authority that they recognize that for the 2 trains in the morning and 2 in the afternoon, that train would have the preference in terms of priority rather than the ships going through the canal. So the cost of a $750 million or more bridge or tunnel is something that's simply, that's a red herring that's not on the table. So I'm really hoping that the information put together for that, plus the other 10 or 11 issues, will be ways to continue to move Niagara forward. And I have to say, this would have been the 10th year. It will be when we get to it. What's evolved is a very strong relationship. We can walk in, well, first of all, we get interviews. Many people, many groups try to get interviews with various cabinet ministers or deputy ministers or assistants and so on, and it doesn't happen. Why? Perhaps anticipation for who are these people and what are they going to do, and is it going to be confrontative, etc. We've established a very positive relationship over time, and it's a case where, regardless of what government is in play at the end of this particular election, as you know, most of the mandarins are still going to be working, perhaps for different ministries and so on. But it's a case where we have moved Niagara forward significantly in the past, and we're hoping that this agenda will do it as well. And this chair has not gone to outside sources, consultants, to prepare this. All of this was done in-house by our staff and the executive assistant to the chair. So looking forward to it when it does happen.
Thank you very much, Councillor Beatty, for your report. I'm just going to highlight, unless you wanted to, but I'm just going to highlight quickly for others the few other items here that were the top items. The Niagara Casino Tax Revenue Stabilization, and we spoke about that a little bit. Certainly the effect of the appeal on the region and all regional taxpayers, and specifically on Niagara Falls taxpayers. So that is an issue that we wanted to meet with the Ministry of Finance and the Minister about. And I note that the Minister was supposed to come on Wednesday, and that's been canceled, to speak about the budget and other issues, and I was going to ask him that question, but won't have that chance on Wednesday. Also the idea of, it's called the Beck Economic Cluster Electricity Project, and this is to support the request from industrial users, heavy industrial users, of a discount of 2 cents per kilowatt hour for Niagara-based manufacturers. There is a discount, a similar discount in the United States surrounding the border, and we've actually lost a couple of businesses to that. This request was to ask for that 2 cent kilowatt cost rebate for Niagara manufacturers within 50 kilometers of the Beck hydroelectric station, and that would extend to Grimsby, the entire boundary of Niagara region. Work on in agricultural community improvement plans, so much as we have CIPs for downtowns and gateway areas. Now it's to further move the yardstick on agricultural community improvement plans. Community-based mental health services. Niagara is totally underserviced, especially when compared to other areas like Hamilton with mental health services. Some of that's a bit historic because of the facilities that they've had over the years, but others need to be rectified. That was an important ask. The Niagara East Area Corridor, this is linking the Highway 406 to the 140. The Ministry of Transportation has done their Phase 1 environmental assessment on it. This is the request to say, okay, now that you know where it's going to be, let's do the Phase 2 to get it in the general area where it's going to be. Now let's do the Phase 2 to make it more specific.
Mayor,
and finally, the
406 to Queen Elizabeth.
What did I say? 406 to 140. 140 to QEW, sorry. Thank you very much, Councillor. The 140 to the QEW, to linking the 406 and the work that they've done and leveraging that, building on it to the 140 to the QEW. And finally, provincially significant wetlands, and we haven't been too impacted negatively by the changes in the wetlands, although we've had to adapt our official plans, etc. And some development in the Fawn Hill area has been impacted by wetlands, but other communities have serviced land, fully serviced, ready to go, employment lands hit by wetlands, and it's just sort of a flyover approach. So we continue to advocate for that. So those were the Niagara Week asks that will continue and that have been postponed. So questions from council to Councillor Beatty on any of those issues? Councillor Pap?
Just a comment, thank you to the both of you. I noticed, aside from all that, there is the Achilles heel that I talk about in health, and I noticed your request for community health services. I thought that was lost because it was brought up through another venue, and it was mentioned again today about the change in venue of what's going to happen in the delivery of acute care services, and number one was community mental health, so hopefully they'll listen, but like you say, we'll see what happens when the government changes, whoever comes into power.
Thank you very much,
good.
Councillor. Thank you.
To some extent, Councillor, that's part of the homelessness issue as well.
Yes, it's part of that whole
Mental
gamut.
health is part of the spectrum
Yep.
of the authorities.
Yep.
Thank you. Anything further for Councillor Beatty?
No.
There being none, it's been moved by Councillor Lane, second by Councillor Kersey, that Regional Councillor Beatty's report of May 5th, 2014 be received for information. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you very much, Councillor. Look forward to seeing you at the region. Thank you. The next item, adoption of minutes of council. It's been moved by Councillor King, and I need a seconder for this, Councillor Lane. That the following minutes be adopted as printed, circulated, and read. Minutes of the regular meeting of council of April 22nd. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. The next item is consent agenda. Are there any items that members would like to lift for separate consideration? And this does include that letter. It was at the very, very end of the package if you download it from the Prime Minister. So there being none, it's been moved by Councillor Durley, seconded by Councillor King, that the following agenda items be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved as applicable. First, recommendations for the Policy and Priorities Committee of April 22nd. Second, the Respectful Workplace Policy S101-03 as amended. Third, the Policy and Priority Committee minutes of April 22nd. Fourth, some correspondence. The first being from Keith's Restaurant regarding garbage receptacles and benches on Pelham Street, and that the motion is that we receive the correspondence and refer to the Public Works Department for investigation and report. The second is information from the region regarding the growth management performance indicators, and that it's be received and referred to the Director of Community Planning and Development for comment. The third is Prime Minister Harper's correspondence to participate in the National Day of Honor on May 9th, this Friday coming up. And I'm going to comment on that when I have the chance. The fifth is information correspondence items, one from the Ministry of Energy, one from the Scoper resolution regarding land titles. The third, Pelham Bicycle Friendly Community Application Feedback, which was very helpful. Bruce Trail Conservancy celebrating 50-year anniversary, and that significant anniversary is coming up. Thank you card from Ms. Youngblood for participation in her retirement party. And some items from the Regional Municipality of Niagara. A report regarding the 2013 annual emergency exercise, a report regarding development services and the year-end report for 2013, Niagara Regional Official Plan Amendment regarding aggregate, and the Niagara Region regarding Skin Cancer Prevention Act, information regarding that. And finally, committee minutes for information from the Library Board, March 26th, Canada Day Committee, February 20th, Active Transportation Committee, March 18th, and the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, March 25th. Any items that members would like to comment on, question on, make reference to? The only item that I would like to, like to speak about is this letter that we didn't receive, but I understand from the clerk that it was discussed at the clerk's meeting last Thursday, and it was requested that we get a copy from another municipality. This is something called the honoring the military mission in Afghanistan with a National Day of Honor on May 9th. I was at the Legion, and I see a member of the Legion here, on Sunday, and I did speak to some members of the executive about this commemoration. They were unaware of it as well, although the zone commander did have some knowledge of it. Very, well, I'll say there's not a lot of notice apparently for communities for this. But in essence, the motion that's before us is to work together with representatives of the Legion to observe a moment of silence on Friday, May 9th. I understand that the activities are to occur at 1:30, so maybe in and around the 1 o'clock time period, and that staff have spoken to the president of the Legion and suggesting that something be done here at Peace Park. So plans are still being formulated, members of council, and we will do our best to honor the this specific commemoration that the Governor General has issued, proclaiming this a National Day of Honor. So watch your emails, and we'll work together with the media on that. Anything further on any of the items? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. My report next. I think my report's next. Thank you.
Move it.
I did want to highlight a couple of the items in the report, and I can't find it. Perfect, thank you. I do want to acknowledge, along with Councillor Papp, the 50th anniversary of Big Brothers Big Sisters. Congratulations to them on this significant anniversary. And I thank the board members, along with Councillor Papp, for the volunteers and the staff for the dedication for many years of service to the community, and informed them about, reminded them about the support that they're receiving from the Pelham Mayor's Gala, which is coming up upwards of $5,000 for Pelham-based programs. So we look forward to that. I was in attendance on the at the Welland River Floodplain Association annual general meeting. Very, very informative. They went through the history of the work and how they, as I think I wrote here, how they were watching over the efforts of the NPCA, and now they're working together hand in hand with the NPCA to remap the flood levels. And I see a strong advocate on that in the back row. Also, along with members of council, Councillor Ribiak, Papp, Lane, King, and Durley, it was a pleasure and honor to attend the retirement ceremony and event for Ms. Drazina that occurred on the 25th of April. We thanked her. It was for being irreplaceable, and we're certainly going to miss her. It was a great event and lots of fun. Wellspring Niagara, I just want to touch on this. I did receive an invitation to speak at the Volunteer Appreciation Dinner on the 28th of April. Very heartwarming dinner. Wonderful, wonderful volunteers. More than 160 dedicated Wellspring volunteers, and I thank them on your behalf and on behalf of the region, but also spoke about council's commitment to the donating up to 2 acres of land, and they were so appreciative, and they wanted me to bring that appreciation back to council. So thank you to members of council and staff on their behalf for that. And I'm going to ask Councillor King if she wants to add anything about the Mudfest challenge. Councillor King?
If I could get the mud out of my mouth, I would be more than happy to comment on it. It was a wonderful event. It was cool. It was a little bit wet from the sky and definitely wet from the ground. I've never actually been swimming in mud before, but I had my opportunity for that. The Rotary Club did an amazing job of organizing this. I have no idea what the results for Pelham Cares will end up at, but it will be repeated in September, and hopefully it'll be warmer.
Thank you very much, Councillor King, and thank you for taking the lead on that and being our captain and encouraging those to participate in, and certainly a number of staff participated, so thank you very much to those members of staff. So it's been moved by Councillor Durley, second by Councillor King, that my report to council for May 5th, 2014 be received for information. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you. Councillor Ribbiak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I know you made mention in your report of the Community Day, Cleanup Day that occurred on Saturday, April 26th, and I just wanted to add my expression of gratitude to the tremendous volunteers on the Communities in Bloom Committee and the staff who are associated with that, who really do a tremendous job of organizing this and being out to make it work. Also want to make mention of those who contributed to the event. For example, Tim Hortons, Bill and Stephanie McWilliams, who supplied T-shirts, mugs, gloves, Timbits, early morning coffee, stuff that was really essential. The barbecue team, of course, from the fabulous Fenwick Lions, that really is like the cherry on top, except that they don't serve cherries. But in particular, I want to mention what a tremendous impact it makes on me to see our residents come out to do this, and in particular among them, the parents that bring their children and demonstrate tremendous citizenship and leadership and citizenship and training of young people by coming out and just, without any fanfare, getting about the business of cleaning up everybody else's trash. It was successful, of course. A lot of trash was picked up, and I'm sure that will come in there. But I think those lessons shouldn't go unnoticed, and so I congratulate the tremendous, wonderful residents of Pelham who are so dedicated and so loving of their town. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. It's been moved by Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Durley, that Councillor Ribbiak's report on the Community Participation Day for 2014 be received for information. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Thanks to all who participated and planned it. The next item is the regarding Pelham Summerfest 2014. It's been moved by Councillor Lane, seconded by Councillor Kersey, that for reasons outlined in the report, Council designate the Pelham Summerfest as a festival of municipal significance to be held as a 4-day event from Thursday, July 17th to Sunday, July 20th, 2014. That the clerk be authorized to make application for a special occasion permit for Pelham Summerfest in that time period, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to enter into agreements with the 5 licensed establishments within the licensed area to which the special occasion permit applies. Those establishments being Zest Restaurant, the Cafe on Main and Wine Bar, Mukos Restaurant of Font Hill, and Volcano Pizzeria and Gelato Village. And that the town of Pelham offer no objections to the request from Zest Restaurant, Cafe on Main and Wine Bar, Mukos Restaurant of Font Hill, Volcano Pizzeria, and Gelato Village for their respective applications for a patio extension for the Pelham Summerfest, subject to the following condition: that the selling and serving of alcohol to the approved outdoor area shall occur only between the hours of 4 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Friday, July 18th. All patrons must be cleared. All patios must be cleared of patrons by 12 midnight, and between 11 a.m. and midnight on Saturday, July 19th, 2014, and that the outdoor area shall be cleared of patrons by 1 a.m. on Sunday, July 20th. The council authorized a variance to the Town of Pelham bylaw, number 3130, being a bylaw to regulate the control of noise for the purpose of facilitating the Pelham Summerfest music venues and outdoor movie night being conducted as part of the event from 4 p.m. Friday, July 18th until 1 a.m. on Sunday, July 20th. And further, the council authorized the following road closures: Pelham Town Square entrance off Pelham Street from 7 a.m. Friday, July 18th to noon on Monday, July 21st. Pelham Street from Regional Road 20, Highway 20, to College Street from 12 p.m. Friday, July 18th to 1 a.m. Sunday, July 20th. Comments, questions? Great to see Pelham Summerfest in full working order, and certainly I know Councillor Kersey, you're the chair of that. Thanks very much to your work and the members of staff and the dedicated volunteers that are putting this together. A great event. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Are we ready for calling the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried, and we look forward to a wonderful Pelham Summerfest. The next item has been moved by Councillor Kersey, second by Councillor Lane. The issue summary report 2014 development charges bylaw be received, and the council approve the rates detailed in Schedule B1 and Schedule B2 on page F17 in Addendum 2, Development Charges Background Study Update, attached to the report, and that staff be directed to present a development charges bylaw for adoption at the next regular meeting of council, and that the said bylaw also repeal bylaw 3049, 2009, and that the effective date of August 22nd, 2014 be approved for the passage of these bylaws. Discussion? Councillor Kersey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to either our CAO or our treasurer. And what spurs this question is the fact that the Station Street extension rose its head, and we had to go back and, before we passed the bylaw, amend the report, which in effect amends what we're going to do. What other streets are on the horizon that might impact our development charge bylaw during the period of time from the time of passage? For it's in place for 5 years, and if those roads come to the point where they need to be developed, do we go back and amend the development charge bylaw in order to charge development charges to cover the cost of that? It's within our purview to do that.
Just through you, Mr. Mayor, absolutely, we can open up the bylaw at any time to include those roads. This one in particular was one of the roads that the development on the south side of Port Robinson Road, they considered an important road artery for between now and 2019. But we could open up the bylaw to put this road in there at that time. It was easier to include it at this point, but any other road along Port Robinson that needs to go south can come back to council and reopen up the bylaw at that time.
Thank you. Councillor.
I think that answers the question. I mean, we've addressed the block from Highway 20 to Port Robinson Road to a large degree. We've done really nothing with the block from Port Robinson Road south to, say, Merritt, with respect to any collector roads or roads that we might be responsible to build, and so that subsequent development can take place. So that was why I asked that question. But
maybe we'll get further clarity on this. This is because it's in the town's road allowance, is that correct?
This road is eligible only because it's in the town's road allowance. So if you notice, it's 500 meters south where the road allowance ends, and then the roads then become the developer's responsibility. So there's not many other roads that would be part of this DC bylaw.
okay, so there are no other road allowances extending south of Port Robinson Road towards Merritt that we might find ourselves in a position
I'm
to
going to
ask.
ask Mr. Mannell. Mr. Mannell?
Mr. Mayor, there are none.
There are none.
The environmental assessment package for East Font Hill identified all the road network, and Station Street was just kind of the only one that was left out of the mix.
Okay. So again, if I could extend my question, Mr. Mayor, for further clarity, if there are major roads there that the developers need to take their feet off of, would the town front the money for those, or would the developers that are adjacent to those major roads have to get together and front the money to put those roads in and charge it back to the minor developers that are in that area? If my question is clear. Here's my.
The roads that will go adjacent to the Station Street extension and all the roads within that subdivision are purely the developers. We do not front the money for those roads, so.
I think the anomaly here, and the reason why Mr. DeLisio made the presentation a month ago and staff looked into it, the reason why this is here is because it is in the road allowance.
I see.
As we just heard, some of the other roads that are occurring are not in the road allowance, and they are up to the developer to fund, unless they're specifically for town assets, like a community center or a rec center or whatever it is that's a public asset, and you need to get to them. And there is a contribution that we spoke about during some of the committee meetings that we have. All the other roads in the development area are paid for by that development. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Yep.
Thank you. I just to clarify a question that Councillor Kersey asked, and I do see Councillor Lane, but we're having the discussion, or some members of regional council are having the discussion about wanting to open up the regional development charges bylaw. We were told that the background study is, I guess, legal or available for 1 year, But after that, if you want to open up the DC, you actually have to do another background study. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not 100% certain on the requirement to do a complete background study on this. I think you've got that 1 year to kind of add and do things without changing the structure of this current bylaw. But my understanding with talking with the consultancy in Watson that because we discussed whether we were going to put this in now or open it up, and they said either way would work for you. They did not mention about having to do another study, but I can get that clarification.
Councilor Lane, did you have something? Okay, all right. Others? Are you ready for calling the question? All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. Certainly lots of work and background to this, so thanks very much to all that were involved, and certainly we received some presentations from members of the public on that as well. So thank you to those. It's been moved by Councilor Ribbiak, second by Councilor Papp. The council received issue summary report federal gas tax agreement, and the council authorized the mayor and clerk to enter into the agreement with the Association of Municipalities of Ontario for the transfer of federal gas tax funds. Discussion? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. The next item has been moved by Councilor Papp, second by Councilor Lane, that the issue summary report leisure plan phase 2 report be received and the council accept the phase 2 recreation business case study as presented by Leisure Plan International. And this is the final report. Questions, comments on this particular item? Are there any? No? Councilor Papp, do you want to?
No, I'll let Councilor Ribbiak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one. I went through this. This is the final report. I recall we had a discussion with the consultant in his preparation. I think one of the questions that we had was whether the numbers that were presented include consideration of a management cost or not. And I still don't see it in here, and I'm still up in the air a little bit about understanding how without that cost we can understand what the full operating cost of the venture is. So I don't know whether that prohibits this from going forward and being examined by others and just going into the public domain. But to me, I think that there's still a question that I have there that I want to answer, if I can.
Okay, thank you. Mr. CEO?
I don't think we can assess those costs at this time. That was something that we'd have to go back and discuss with the consultant and return with a specific answer to that. But I don't think it would have an impact per se on the business case that's been presented tonight.
Councilor?
Thank you. I'm trying to digest that Mr. CAO's answer that not having a full appreciation of what the operating cost doesn't affect our understanding of the business case. I think I understand an awful lot about this, having read through it several times, but I'm still wondering whether that component might be given some sort of a value, at least for budget or discussion purposes, whether it's right or wrong, or whether it's going to be the result of negotiations or whatever. It seems to me that it's an important ingredient in understanding what the operating cost will be.
Councilor Ribbiak, can you just clarify? I think for all of us, you're talking about the operating costs and the management costs. What in relation to what? The management costs. There are salaries and benefits and wages and several and various operating costs that are outlined. But could you
certainly
help me understand so I can help you?
There's mention. That's right. There's mention of course, salaries and wages within the within the calculation of the operating cost, and there is also mention of, and I'll see if I can find it here, whether I can or can't, of an arrangement, an agreement with the YMCA to enter into the management part of it. I'm just interested in knowing whether there's a cost related to that. Is this going to be a matter of the YMCA coming to us and doing a good job, but being paid out of revenues that they themselves generate using our properties, or are we going to enter into a contract with them with which there's a cost, or is that cost already absorbed within the salaries and and wages of, and the manpower description within the report.
Okay, Mr. CAO?
I can't answer that question at this time, Mr. Mayor. The discussions with the Y are preliminary. I have nothing to report at this point. There is no one way of doing the operation and management. There are many, many models, and the trick for us is going to be finding the right partner and the right model, which could be any number of variables. So to try and speculate and put that into this report again, I don't see it would be productive.
Thank you, Mr. CAO. Councillor?
Perhaps one final point. Will there be an additional cost to the operating structure indicated within this report as a result of entering into a management agreement with someone? Will that represent actually additional cost, whether we know more or not, or how much it is or not?
No, I would like to say no. The objective is to reduce the operating costs as shown in the report. That would be the, why else would we do it?
Thank you. Others? Councillor Papp, I think were you next?
Oh, it's a valid question. The thing I was more, I'm not going to comment on that. I want to add something on another matter related to this.
Okay, is it to that, Councillor?
To Councilor Rubiak's point? Yes, I think I made my position clear the last time when the consultant was here. If I was a private businessman adopting this or receiving this report as a business case to move my business forward, when 50% of the building, the revenue source of the building is not accounted for one way or the other, whether it's a negative or a positive, it does not allow me to make a proper business decision on moving forward. Now, having said that, I'm not saying that we need to stand here until we get those answers. There are things we can do to keep moving to the goalpost. But by the same token, I don't see this as a final report. It may be his final report. It's certainly not a final report that this council needs to make a decision. There's no allowance in here for costing with respect to interest carrying costs. By his own admission, there's no allowance in here for creating a contingency or a capital cost replacement escrow account, which should be in an operation like this, should be built in to the operating statement. So, because we don't want to find ourselves down the road with a facility like this in the same boat that we are with the facilities we have now, because there's been no planning to create a contingency or a capital replacement cost account. That should be in there. So I have a problem with the report. Some of the stuff is good, some of it's positive and solid, but there are a lot of things here that I find difficult to accept this as a final report. It may be his final report. It's certainly not a final report that we can act on, in my opinion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gurley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the CAO, perhaps. Is Kim not working on a plan that will address the issues that are being brought forward in this discussion, as far as plans to make sure that our buildings are their asset management type of thing? Is she not working on something like that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, that's correct. We're doing facility audits on all of the town's facilities and coming up with a facility management strategy so that we're maintaining our buildings and doing proactive maintenance. There are some unknowns at this point. I just can't answer them because we don't know yet. So when we do get information on potential partnerships, if there's opportunity for private-public opportunities, if there's funding or grant money, I mean, those are all things that will change this as we move forward. In the sense of it being final, it's final to the point of this is what we know today. And as we learn new things moving forward, we will certainly amend this before any final decisions regarding committing to the construction of a rec center are made.
It's a work in progress.
Thank you. Councillor Papp?
Sure. In light of that, I think there's some other enhancements, and I'm just, I didn't have a chance to talk to all of you, but you're right about the operating costs and being familiar with that particular organization and what is involved. I agree with the CEO. That has to be all worked out. What are going to be the management costs? What are going to be, how you're going to handle that? Whatever, and then the treasurer, I'm sure, will put into place whatever the replacement costs are of that particular building. The other part of it that just, as of recently this afternoon, we've had an interesting signal given to us from a very large player down the street that would be very interested in using this facility. So forgive me again, when I keep going back to Notre Dame, but I know we can't build 5,000 seats, but there's definitely a piqued interest in people looking at the capacity of seating. So maybe that's something even in the design side that we may have to re-examine. That doesn't mean that it's etched in stone, because being through this before, if you reconfigure that so that it complies with not only ice hockey but others, but this came out of the blue, and in fact they'll be sending something to you that's a local organization you're familiar with, and they were very excited about this and said, oh, okay, so what can you do? So that may change some of the operational side of it. What does it cost to run, et cetera. So the other part of this is that also to bring into play that with the election and there's some suggestion, and as much as it may say it on the street, that if in case there's another infrastructure, and what I'm hearing from, in fact, this particular group I was talking to today, that if the feds in the province decide to move ahead again, Mr. Mayor, that we need to be ready. We need to come up with, and I'm not taking away, and you're right, Councilor Kersey and Rebecca, about but we need to be ready that we have the, how should I say, the raison d'etre, the proposed facility, the logistics and the functionality of it ready. So we know so if somebody says, what's this particular entity what is it going to encompass, what's it going to cost, we can basically say in the best guesstimate that this is what it's going to be to build it, and this is what it's going to cost to operate. So there is some, I can say, urgency in some context to move ahead with some pre-qualification, to get going, and at least get some sort of the conceptual ideas put into play. And today, like I say, and we'll talk more about it, I don't want to say, it became clear to me that they gravitated towards this and said this is a perfect fit. So I'm suggesting that we keep it going, accept it, with the understanding we're going to modify it as we move along based on the market conditions and along with answering your fiscal operations and of how this thing is going to work. So I'm in full support on the condition and I agree, Councilor, it is definitely going to be, especially now it's going to may even change some of the components of what we're looking at originally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilor, others? Councilor Kersey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask a couple of specific questions through you to our treasurer. In his amended report, he speaks about the fact that because the facility, it's proposed to house the Recreation, Culture, and Wellness Department, that the town would grant over $30,000 a year to offset costs related to heat, hydro, et cetera, that would have been allocated here as an expenditure. Do you view that as a valid allocation?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I did pick up on that right away when this was sent over, and I thought he was providing revenue to a source that he shouldn't, because we essentially don't pay ourselves for that type of stuff. Upon discussions with him and with the CAO, he had indicated that, in fact, he was double counting because he had included in the operating expenses the cost of housing the admin staff in the rec department at the arena. And we are already accounting for that and the other in this town hall facility. So to make sure that it was revenue, that was neutral, he had to put in an offsetting revenue non-cash item just to wash it out. But he really wanted to show the true expenditure line, and that's why he included it that way.
Along a similar line, Madam Treasurer, if I may, he's also in his discussion about revenues in the municipal side, the large municipal hall and the small municipal hall, he's indicating that if our department is going to carry out, say, a camp in the large municipal hall, that in fact that is where the revenue that he's showing there is being generated from. It's actually from the programs payable at, I think, $50 an hour, I think he projected. Is that how we manage our money now with respect to our facilities?
I'm sorry,
So, he projected $60,000 in the large municipal hall.
okay.
And in his explanation, as I read it, it's related to costs of running municipal programs. So in effect, we're paying ourselves, right? We're charging fees to our clients, and then out of those fees, there would be an allocation of $50 an hour to the income side of the rec center, or the community center.
That's not, my understanding is he's taken the programs that we are in the last report that he presented to council, he was not including our own revenues, our own program fees, our own services that are provided in like a community center type environment, one of them being the camps that are held out at Old Pelham Town Hall. So in discussion with him, my understanding is that revenue is our actual revenue that we get from charging our fees for the camp programs that we run, the day camps, the weekly camps and stuff that are held in-house. So they'd be run out of that community center now, as opposed to running them out of the Old Pelham Town Hall or other sites in the parks and so forth. So that was my understanding of what he has done. Maybe the CEO saw it different, but upon discussion with him, he's indicated to us that he's taken those revenues that he did not account for in the first report and has plugged them into this report to say that they're now being utilized.
Well, okay, maybe we got to look at that a little bit more, because I'm not convinced that that's the way it's laid out. But the other one is meeting rooms. He's charging a fee for use of meeting rooms. So if Summerfest wants to come in and use a meeting room at the community center, he's got revenue in there at $20 an hour for having a meeting in our own meeting room. And that's municipally run programs that he's talking about. He's not talking about Y or anything like that. He's talking about the municipal side. So, I mean, we don't do that now. That's certainly not something that we want to do, is it? I don't know.
I do believe in our consolidated schedule of fees, there is a small charge for meeting rooms of $20 an hour, and especially at the arena for some of the meeting activity that happens there. So I believe he's just taken all that information from the Rec Services Department and included it in this facility, that we do charge a fee for some types of events, and maybe the concept of the wording might have not been correct when he said municipally driven programs, and maybe it's just, we can get that clarified, but my understanding is it's all those revenues that we are already receiving with respect to rentals and so forth, that wouldn't be for committees that are town committees, but outside external organizations.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Others? There being none, are we ready for calling of the question? All those in favor?
1 second. If I may,
Councilor Rybak?
Mr. Mayor, before you call the question, could you just review the question? I just really want to understand what it is that
we received the report. Yeah. First that we received that issue summary report, Leisure Plan Phase 2 report be received, and the council accept the Phase 2 Recreation Business Case Study as presented by Leisure Plan International.
So it's an acceptance of the report.
Madam Clerk, what does the language mean?
I would defer to the CAO.
Mr. CAO?
It means, Mr. Mayor, that we use this as a foundation moving forward as the business case and business study for the recreation center.
Right. So it evolves. Councilor?
Thank you. So it's used as a basis, as I understand it, based on this discussion, that it's really kind of in principle, it's a big stroke thing. It's not that we're not going to encounter changes in information as we go through, or additional clarifications as we develop the program. This is meant to be a report that kind of paints a picture that we can make a decision ultimately in principle about proceeding.
Mr. CAO?
Yes, it does present an argument, I think a fairly strong argument of the feasibility of a recreation center as defined in the report. However, that's not to say that this is a set in stone report. It's a if you will, a living document that certainly will be added to or amended as we move forward and new information becomes known.
I appreciate that clarification.
All right, thank you. Are you ready for the
time it's
question?
taken. Yes, I am.
All those in favor? We ready for, all those in favor? All those opposed? Motion carried.
Just using it as your first game plan.
Thank you. The next item has been moved by Councillor Lane, second by Councillor Kersey, that the issue summary report town recreation operating review be received and that the staff be directed to advertise for appointments to the Citizens Advisory Committee, and the staff be directed to develop a terms of reference for the committee, and that the terms of reference and recommendation for appointments to the committee be brought forward for June 16th, 2014 meeting of council. That staff be directed to begin the process of selecting an architect for the design phase of a new recreation center, and that staff be directed to actively seek out appropriate grant funding opportunities for such a project. Councillor Papp, I think you spoke to some of these items ahead. Do members of council like to speak to this? Councillor Durley.
Mr. Mayor, and just building on what Councillor Papp said in the last discussion, I think it's imperative that we get the plan on paper, in fact, get it on the shelf, and so we're shovel-ready, because there's possible funding opportunities that are coming up, because the new Building Canada Fund of $14 billion is going to be made available shortly. We have had a statement by our provincial member of parliament saying he's a big supporter of the new rec center and will help find ways to fund this important project, and that's in quotes. There are other corporate donations that are available out there, and some private contributions that certainly can come forward. But quite often, the window of opportunity to take advantage of some of these grants is very, very narrow. So if we're not shovel-ready, we may lose out on an opportunity, and certainly with $14 billion over the next 10 years by the feds, something should be made available, and our staff have been very diligent in soliciting funds through these grants, and I think it's imperative that we do move forward. We're not making a decision right now, but definitely having numbers on the table will give us a better opportunity to make decisions and know exactly where we're going to get the money from.
Thank you very much, Councillor Durley. Others? I think one of the important features about this, and certainly we see the creative problem-solving session, was the recognition that activity could occur concurrently as opposed to sequentially. Sometimes municipalities take steps one after the other, but this is really saying, just as Councillor Durley outlined and Councillor Papp a little bit earlier, saying, you know what, there's some things that need to be done in preparation for a decision the council is going to be hopefully making in June. Those two things are getting something happening regarding an architect, as the chart shows, procuring an architect to be shovel-ready. And so when that decision's made, then the next decision that can be made concurrently is, okay, let's move ahead with an architect, or let's not move ahead with an architect. And then the other is the involvement of members of the public, members of those various groups that will be using this facility. I'm going to ask the CEO to maybe just comment on that Citizen Recreational Design Committee and the concept around that, and we'll see if any others have any comments, or whether you're ready for the question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's I think, like all projects or municipal initiatives, it's important to involve the public, but especially when you're designing a building that is for specific uses, like, for example, hockey. There's a lot of nuances. There's a lot of issues surrounding the amount of change rooms, how they function, all the way to how you access the ice. And there's been many examples of municipalities not consulting the users, building something that turns out to be design flawed. Also, there would be an expectation for the committee potential partners to contribute to this, as well as members of the public at large that are interested in this project. So it really gives the committee really gives some practical guidance to the architect throughout the design process, and it also helps establish buy-in for the design of the building. And those committee members also become ambassadors to the larger public or champions of the project. So I think it's a very valuable exercise.
Thank you very much, Mr. CEO. Other members of council? Councillor Kersey and then Councillor Lane.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very briefly, I don't want it to be felt by my council colleagues that my comments with respect to the leisure plan report in any way detract from what's being proposed here. I'm a great supporter of this. I believe in getting a project shovel ready. I think these are important steps so that we can truly understand the capital costs and get a handle on financing opportunities and all of that sort of thing. So I like the fact that we're moving forward on towards the goal, and it makes a whole lot of sense. Just as another little comment, Mr. Mayor, I like how this lays out the costing of operation for the arena. If you go to our operating budget, it's very difficult to find that kind of information in there and put it down in a comprehensive, understandable way. This lays it all out and is very useful, and it might be something that we consider when we look at our operating budgets in the future, that we create, perhaps include more detail, so that it's easier for us if somebody stops us on the street and says, how much did the arena lose last year, or how much did it make, and all that, we can have a better comprehension and a better ability to answer that. So I like this approach to things very much, and I do support the initiatives that have been brought forward by staff as far as this facility.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lane?
Yeah, just for my clarification on the second last point on the recommendation, this is a process of selecting an architect is really what it is, right?
Mr. CEO?
Yes, Mr.
It
Mayor.
says for the design phase, but it's actually selecting the architect, and then the design phase would be something after when we decide what we want to design, right?
What we are recommending, to be clear, is that we pre-qualify a number of architects before making the final decision. The pre-qualification process takes a bit of time. That will allow us to, again, concurrently set up the committee so that the committee can then be involved in the selection of an architect if council wants to take that next step.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Others? There being none, I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. We look forward to that information coming back to us so that we can make decisions. Moving on here, it's been moved by Councillor Lane, moved by Councillor Papp, second by Councillor Lane. The Council of the Town of Pelham, having given due consideration to the following bylaws, do not read a first, second, and third time, do pass the same, and the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and seal the bylaws. Bylaw 3496 being a bylaw to set the rates of taxation for the year 2014, and bylaw 3497 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to enter into an agreement with Association of Municipalities of Ontario in order to participate in the federal gas tax fund transfers. Comments, questions? I do want to note, members of council, that these rates will set the rate increase for 2014 at 0.9%, the blended rate. That means that for this term of council, for the average taxpayer, the increase was 6%, while inflation was 7.4%, so well under any changes in inflation. And kudos to council, kudos to staff for working together and being very, very fiscally responsible. And we hope residents are pleased with that and the hard work that we've done in finding efficiencies and working on their behalf. So I'm ready to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. There is an in-camera session, and as is our standard, it's been moved by Councillor Papp, second by Councillor Lane, that council recess the in-camera portion of the meeting till later and reconvene immediately, that session immediately following committee meetings scheduled for this evening. All those in favor? Any opposed? That motion is carried. We'll take a brief recess. We're running out of time. Thank you.
We are marching inexorably.
Did you want to just do it?